Chapter 628, Gu and his terrifying method. Indeed, such existences are rarely seen, but they often bring great trouble, the Tai Immortal monarch said, his eyes concealed, making it impossible for one to discern his gaze. The yellow-robed Taoist asked, were the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave captured? If it were merely a defeat or death, that wouldn't matter much. For immortal gods, the most agonizing fate is to be sealed and unable to perish on their own, forced to endure prolonged suffering and waiting only for rescue by the celestial court. Of course, it would be a difficult process, but the celestial court could always save them, such is the strength of the immortal gods. The Tai Immortal monarch replied, we can't capture their destiny, nor can we perceive the causality that binds them. He wasn't worried either, but he pondered how next to deal with that person. The yellow-robed Taoist asked with a half-smile, what do you plan to do, personally intervene? For so many immortal gods to descend upon a great thousand world goes against celestial rules. The Tai Immortal monarch did not answer. Instead, he picked up a chess piece and gently tapped the edge of the board. The yellow-robed Taoist said no more, not wanting to disturb the Tai Immortal monarch's contemplation. He cast his gaze toward the chessboard, his eyes flashing with a strange light at the sight of a childlike piece. Inside the Taoist field of the beginningless, Xianxia, an Xin, and the ghost mother of ephemera saw the illusion of the demonic shadow disappear, and the three women came to from their shock. Was it the immortal emperor's eye that rewrote the heavens and earth? An Xin thought curiously to herself. Before the void reverted to the mundane world, she had seen the divine light of the immortal emperor's eye flash across Gu En's face, brief but unmistakable. Xianxia turned to look at Guan, who still held the Cyan Hero's travelogue, in a lounging pose. The more nonchalant he was, the more she admired Guan. After so many years, seeing Guan take action again still left her in awe. At that moment, Gu En's demonic shadow appeared out of thin air beside his true self, then dissipated into smoke, leaving behind 72 tiny orbs of golden light floating in the air. Guan sat up, tucked the Cyan Hero's travelogue into his chest, then raised his right hand, and the 72 orbs of light dispersed, revealing small wooden plaques that fell into his palm. These wooden plaques were only 5 or 6 centimeters long and thin as leaves, crafted as if by an artisan, with different figures carved on each, all images of the Golden Cave immortals. Guan grabbed the batch of plaques, then took out a red thread, threaded it through the forehead of each plaque, strung them together, and hung them on his belt. An Xin, Xianxia, and the ghost mother of ephemera witnessed this. Their eyes widened, and their perception challenged severely. Transforming living beings into such small trinkets was already astonishing, and these plaques originated from beings of great power. Even through the illusion, they could feel the might of the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave, and the terrifying power of the Golden Cave absolute immortal array that enveloped the entire celestial spirit great world, inciting fear in all beings within and beyond the heavens. After finishing all this, Guan played with the wooden plaques at his waist, a smile appearing on his face. Xianxia and the other ladies felt it was preposterous. Gu En's methods turned their understanding of immortal cultivation on its head. Why are you all watching me? Continue with the excitement, Guan said to the three of them, reminding them. Startled, they quickly turned back to see the illusion on top of the artifact refining cauldron, where the Taoist cultivators of the Tao court had once again surrounded Zhu Guanghan. How did you manage to capture him? Xianxia asked, surprised, staring at the illusion. Zhu Guanghan had already proven his strength, and all the great cultivators in the world could not withstand him. Guan did not answer. He twisted his body and walked toward the outside of the courtyard. Before he reached the gate, the voice of Zhu Guanghan came from within the illusion. I have been defeated, he declared. I am willing to recall the innate human race and no longer bring calamity to the celestial spirit great world. His words allowed the cultivators of the Tao court to breathe a sigh of relief, yet there were still some who, indignant, asked, you have slain so many beings, and just like that, it's over? Zhu Guanghan remained composed and said, we rely on a destiny unimaginable to you. Even in death, we can be resurrected. To truly kill us, you must extinguish that very destiny. His statement left the inquirer abruptly at a loss for words. Yuan Songzi looked at Zhu Guanghan with a complex expression in his eyes. He took a deep breath and ordered, "Everyone withdraw. Do not engage with the innate human race any further." Zhu Guanghan turned his gaze to Yuan Songzi and said eerily, "The path of the immortal Tao is far beyond your imagination. If you wish to govern this world, you must be psychologically prepared." As he spoke, he cast a sideways glance at Tian Hao, his stare causing a tremor in Tian Hao's heart. Tian Hao thought back to the earlier battle with the 72 immortals of Jin Dong and the Golden Extreme God, and for some reason, he felt that these mighty beings had come for him. But he couldn't be sure and feared he might be overestimating himself. LV Xian patted his shoulder, signaling it was time to leave. The Blood Prison Great Saint, however, looked quite disgruntled. This battle had offered him no room to show his prowess. He felt as if he had made a trip for nothing. The other Wuxia disciples, on the other hand, were quite excited, still reminiscing about Gu An's earlier actions. Elsewhere, in the depths of the universe, beneath a world gate, the celestial spirit god looked into the distance, his mood remaining unsettled for a long time. The aura of the Golden Extreme God had startled him. He felt that the Golden Extreme God had surpassed his own power and that in a fight to the death, he would struggle to overcome the Golden Extreme God. Sir the Ovalfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Of course, the Golden Extreme God was only slightly stronger than him, and his defeat at the hands of Guwen was within expectations. However, the 72 immortals of Jin Dong were a different matter entirely. The Purple Dragon Star Monarch was a figure whom he had once looked up to, and the other immortals of Jin Dong were no ordinary individuals either. These 72 immortals hailed from the same immortal sect, each previously a pinnacle of talent before ascending to immortality. They did not all come from the same era but were the strongest disciples of the immortal sect across different ages. Their Golden Cave Absolute Immortal Array was an exceptionally fearsome legend, possessing tremendous deterrent power even within the celestial court. His master had once said that even a Daluo immortal would lose a layer of skin if caught in the Golden Cave Absolute Immortal Array. He did not know how powerful a Daluo immortal could be, but it was certainly a realm beyond his imagination. Before Guwen, such a terrifying Golden Cave Absolute Immortal Array seemed fragile, and the 72 immortals of Jin Dong were defeated in an instant. You did not choose the profound Star Immortal Monarch nor the Tai Immortal Monarch, and yet for his sake, you have gone to such lengths. Who exactly are you? The celestial spirit god muttered to himself. At this point he also saw the problem. Tian Hao was not merely his son, nor solely a manifestation of the destiny of the celestial spirit great world. There was something deeper about Tian Hao. He began to waver inside. Could it be that the treasure stolen by the celestial spirit immortal venerable back then was not just the world punishment Dao Pearl, but also Tian Hao's previous form? He had often wondered why Emperor Ziwei did not force him to destroy the celestial spirit great world, but now it seemed likely that the successful theft of the treasure by the celestial spirit immortal venerable might have been condoned by Emperor Ziwei. He then recalled the scene within the immortal palace. The expressions of the main deities were so peculiar. The celestial spirit god sighed. He realized he was entangled in a karma beyond his imagination, and it stemmed from within the celestial court itself. Such karma could possibly cause him to lose his celestial Tao immortal position and be reduced to ashes. As an immortal god, one is eternally indestructible. But if stripped of the immortal god status, death would inevitably follow. The celestial spirit god's eyes flickered as he felt the time had come to make a choice. He stood up and walked toward the celestial spirit great world, his silhouette resolute and determined. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 629. The tip of the iceberg of the celestial court. The setting sun dipped westward, and the Qingquan sect's main city bustled as it always did. Inside an inn, Guwen and the celestial spirit god, who had taken the form of Bai Sheng, sat beside a third-floor window, drinking. The third floor was vast, divided into small rooms with windows, and even though every guest room was full, there was no clamor. The celestial spirit god looked at Guan, recalling the times they had roamed mountains and played by the waters, outwitting bandits, back when Su Jin had not yet transformed. That experience, albeit brief, seemed quite delightful upon reflection. He couldn't fathom Guan. He had entered reincarnation without any memories. It was understandable to do such things in that state, but why had Guan accompanied him on those travels? In his eyes, Guan was very strange. Guan was the most terrifying being he had ever encountered. He was merely a celestial god in the celestial court, and his understanding of the celestial court was very one-sided. He couldn't make comparisons. Someone as powerful as Guan, however, enjoyed playing in the human world, and even relished drinking with mortals. The Guan in battle and the one at leisure were two completely different personas, making it hard for anyone to associate him with both states. Guan looked at the celestial spirit god and smiled. "It's rare that you seek me out, how is it? Isn't drinking here more interesting than sitting idly beneath the world gate?" The celestial spirit god didn't answer the question. He stared intently at Guan and said, "You didn't kill me. Aside from fearing the celestial court, you must have intentions of subduing me, right?" Guan counterqueried, "You are a god of the celestial court. How can you be subdued? That's just my identity. My heart belongs to whoever it chooses, and I will serve them. Since ancient times, within the celestial court, many gods have had their hearts set on the outside world, which is why there are so many immortal sects and orders. The celestial court is indeed mighty and immovable, but the hearts of gods are just as complex as those of humans, and under the celestial rules, there is also a place where right and wrong blur." The celestial spirit god's calm reply left Guan silent. It seemed that wherever there were interests to be had, there was always room for negotiation. After pondering for a moment, Guan said, "Tell me about the celestial court first." The celestial spirit god's gaze grew profound. "I am a celestial god, with the qualification to guard the great thousand world, but in the celestial court, I am merely at the bottom. I do not have the right to enter the true celestial court. Ever since my ascent to immortality, I have either stayed with my master, Emperor Ziwei, or remained in the celestial spirit great world. I don't know much more about the celestial court than you do. I can tell you that above celestial gods are star monarchs, whose cultivation level is at least that of a Taiching golden immortal, and above that are the immortal monarchs, a level I cannot reach. Before I betrayed my master, he held such a rank. Whether that is still the case, I'm not sure." Celestial god, star monarch, immortal monarch. It seemed that most immortal monarchs were perhaps in the heaven-opening Daluo immortal realm. Guan, residing in the Miaozhen Daluo immortal realm perfection, was not afraid. Of course, one must never be careless and should always overestimate the opponent. There are countless celestial gods in the celestial court. I once trained with a celestial army. Did you know? There are hundreds of millions of celestial gods there. When I entered their trial realm, I realized how ordinary my talent was. In the eyes of those high in the celestial court, I was no different than an ant. The celestial spirit god spoke of this with a complex expression. In the great thousand world, he was invincible, but in the celestial court, he felt so insignificant, a gap unimaginable to mortal spirits. Guan narrowed his eyes and asked, "How many such celestial armies does the celestial court have?" With one celestial army comprising hundreds of millions of innate golden immortals and heaven-balancing golden immortals, the repressive power of the celestial court was indeed frightening. The golden immortals of the 3,000 great worlds combined couldn't match that number, meaning the reach of the celestial court's control far exceeded the scope of Guan's perception. The celestial spirit god solemnly said, "Many branches, I'm not clear on the number, no one knows just how terrifying the foundation of the celestial court is, even the immortal gods within it, only the supreme celestial emperor knows." Celestial emperor. Upon hearing this, Guan didn't want to probe further for fear of provoking taboo. The tip of the iceberg that was the celestial court was already so terrifying that the realm of the celestial emperor was beyond his imagination. Guan asked, "Since you want to take refuge with me, do you know what you will face next?" The celestial spirit god, seeing that he did not continue to inquire about the celestial court or the celestial emperor, also breathed a sigh of relief. Continuing the conversation could provoke detection by the celestial court. I know, profound star immortal monarch, Tai immortal monarch. I initially thought the former came for faith, but I was utterly mistaken. They are likely eyeing Tian Hao. The celestial spirit immortal venerable created him surely for some mission, and behind this might also be the calculations of my master, Emperor Ziwei. I'm unclear on what he's scheming or the true origin of Tian Hao, but attracting the attention of two immortal monarchs means that even if you resolve them, there will still be bigger troubles ahead. The celestial spirit god said calmly, mentioning profound star immortal monarch and Tai immortal monarch. There was neither fear nor worry in his demeanor. He believed Guan could handle these two immortal monarchs. Given this, you still wish to help me? Is it because of Tian Hao? Guan looked at him and asked. The protection of the celestial Tao destiny prevented Guan from hearing his thoughts, but based on Guan's understanding of him, he wasn't one to lie. A ripple passed through the eyes of the celestial spirit god as he said, if I say Tian Hao doesn't matter to me at all, that would be false, but more so it's because I also need a backer. There's no longer any possibility of ascending within the celestial court, and the more chaos that arises in the celestial spirit great world in the future, the greater my sins. I'd like to know now, your care for Tian Hao, is it due to fate, or like the immortal monarchs, do you have ulterior motives? He addressed Guan with respect, indicating a change in his attitude. Guan asked, if it's due to fate, do you have a plan? The celestial spirit god showed a smile. Before coming, he had speculated that if Guan had ulterior motives, he would have acted long ago. There would have been no need to wait for the immortal monarchs to come. And over these years, he had watched Tian Hao live carefreely. Guan showed no signs of controlling Tian Hao. The celestial spirit god said, actually, resolving this is not difficult. With Tian Hao's talent and destiny pattern, he could be sent to a god stronger than the immortal monarchs, and the immortal monarchs would have no reason to act against the Great Thousand World. Once Tian Hao leaves, they can only swallow their losses in silence. With that said, he couldn't help but sigh, though it was unclear for whom. Xianxia the Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Do you have a god worthy of entrustment? Guan hesitantly asked. Located at the bottom of the celestial court, the celestial spirit god seemed to have no escape. Could he still find a way out for Tian Hao? The celestial spirit god shook his head. I don't know such a transcendental god, but I can recommend Tian Hao to go to the Misty Immortal Court. The Misty Immortal Court has produced many gods and is recognized by the Celestial Court as an orthodox immortal sect. Stronger entities support the Misty Immortal Court from behind, and with Tian Hao's qualifications, he will certainly be able to enter. The two immortal monarchs would not dare to invade the Misty Immortal Court. Afterward, we only need to withstand their retaliation once. Once they fail, they will be forced to temporarily let go of this karma. Misty Immortal Court. Guan thought of the memories of the Emperor of Eternal Life, who was born in one of the immortal mansions of the Misty Immortal Court and left at an early age. He went back once, and from his memories, the Misty Immortal Court indeed appeared unfathomable. The Emperor of Eternal Life was his reincarnation body, so in some sense, he could also be considered a disciple of the Misty Immortal Court. Sending his disciple Tian Hao to the Misty Immortal Court seemed like karma repeating itself. But, could the Misty Immortal Court truly accept Tian Hao? Would Tian Hao be protected there after his arrival? The celestial spirit god's understanding of the celestial court was not deep, and Guan's understanding of the Misty Immortal Court was similarly shallow. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 630 The Feelings of the Celestial Spirit God. Seeing Guan's silence, the Celestial Spirit God did not disturb him. After all, the method he proposed was not absolutely without problems, and if Guan refused, he would not be in a hurry. Before coming here, he had already considered all kinds of situations. Having decided to serve Guan, he had to take a firm stand, thinking about problems from Guan's perspective. After a while, Guan asked, "How sure are you about getting Xianxia into the misty immortal court?" The celestial spirit god replied, "I have a close friend who comes from the misty immortal court. Although his status is not very high, helping Xianxia to join the court is certainly not a difficult task. The rest will depend on Xianxia's destiny, and we can only do so much. Individual fate still depends on one's own efforts." Guan thought for a moment and said, "Then let him choose." The celestial spirit god raised his eyebrow, asking, "You want to tell him all this? He is now grown up, qualified to choose his own fate. If he is manipulated by you and me, how are we any different from the immortal monarchs?" Guan's reply gave the celestial spirit god a deeper understanding of him. It seemed that Guan had no designs on benefiting from Xianxia. Being able to act according to his own wishes, without fearing the threat of the immortal monarchs, also showed that Guan was very confident in his own cultivation level. What do you need me to do?" The celestial spirit god nodded and then asked. Guan revealed a smile, saying, "Keep doing what you were doing before." After hearing this, the celestial spirit god furrowed his brow and hesitantly asked, "Do you think him not qualified to help you?" Remembering how he had been defeated by Guan, his expression became unnatural. "That's certainly not the case. You are a celestial god. Your duty is to protect all living beings, and I temporarily do not need you to do things for me. I have already received your intentions, and we will get along very well in the future. As for the two immortal monarchs, if they come, you don't need to stand up for me. I have my own ways to deal with them." Guan explained, which surprisingly made the celestial spirit god feel ashamed. Being cast into reincarnation by Guan, even though Guan said it was to let him experience the thoughts of mortal spirits and to cultivate a sense of compassion, the celestial spirit god did not take it to heart. He always felt that Guan did this to suppress him, to make him submit. Now it seemed that Guan truly cared for all living beings. What kind of magnanimity was this? The celestial spirit god could not imagine it. He had seen many immortal gods, but it seemed that none were capable of reaching the extent of Guan's actions. The immortal gods often touted their own justice and great kindness, but their attitude towards all living beings was one of indifference, respecting fate and the rules of heaven and earth. Alright, now that we've talked about these things, it's time to properly enjoy some wine. Recently, the Xianxia sect introduced a type of drama that exhibits mythological stories, primarily highlighting emotional expression during character dialogues, which sounds very interesting. Let's go and see it together later. Guan cheerfully said and then poured wine for the celestial spirit god. The celestial spirit god felt puzzled. With their levels of cultivation, how could a drama from the mortal world possibly be interesting? And besides, they didn't need to go there in person. They could hear it from here. However, faced with Guan's invitation, he did not refuse. In his view, Guan was doing this for two reasons. One was to show goodwill and the other might hold deeper meanings. Next, the two talked only about human affairs, and the celestial spirit god gradually relaxed, his thoughts drifting to a woman within the Xianxia sect. Back in the day, the three of them traveled the world together. Now, all within the same sect, even as a celestial god, the celestial spirit god had a very peculiar feeling. Xianxia the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The news of the great defeat of the innate human race swept across the world like a storm. The Dao court especially promoted this news vigorously. A legendary name once again broke into the ears of the people of the world. Supporting Dao's sword Venerable. After that battle had ended, the Dao court held a discussion, and combined with the legends from the human world, they deduced that the mysterious savior was the legendary Supporting Dao's sword Venerable. To all living beings, Supporting Dao's sword Venerable was ancient, but to the great cultivators, not so distant. In the beginning, when the great thousand world had not yet reunited, although they were not within the celestial spirit great world, they had felt the vast aura of the Supporting Dao's sword Venerable. They knew that the Supporting Dao's sword Venerable truly existed. Not only that, but rumors about the relationship between Wuxia and the Supporting Dao's sword Venerable also began to circulate. However, Because many sects claim to have a connection with the supporting Dao Sword Venerable, the relationship between Wuxia and the supporting Dao Sword Venerable didn't cause much of a stir. Time swiftly passed by. A new year arrived. Tian Hao returned to the Qianquan sect. Before he had set foot in the Taoist field of the beginningless, he was summoned by Guan. Following the sound, he arrived at a cliffside and saw that there was another person standing next to Guan, also with their back to him. Looking at the figure of this person, he couldn't help but be stunned, his expression turning peculiar. This person was the celestial spirit god. The moment Tian Hao saw the back of the celestial spirit god, an indescribable mix of emotions welled up inside him. Guan and the celestial spirit god turned together, and in the sunlight, they both radiated an otherworldly aura that seemed to merge with the great heaven and earth, leaving Tian Hao inexplicably bewildered. He came back to his senses, quickly stepped forward, and bowed respectfully to Guan. "Today I called you here to tell you some matters. All you need to do is listen, do not ask questions until we have finished speaking." Guan spoke, leaving Tian Hao feeling baffled. After that, Guan began with the introduction of Tian Hao's mortal identity in this life. When Tian Hao learned that the mysterious man next to Guan was his biological father, he was shocked and wanted to ask questions, but was silenced by Guan's gaze. Once Guan had finished explaining Tian Hao's mortal ancestry, the celestial spirit god started to recount the karma of Tian Hao with the heavenly Tao. Emperor Ziwei, celestial spirit immortal venerable, profound star immortal monarch, Tai immortal monarch, golden extreme god, 72 immortals of Jin Dong, and so on. Hearing all these names, Tian Hao felt dizzy. He had not expected his karma to be so complex and daunting. When he learned that in his past life he had also been a disciple of his master, he was deeply moved. How could the master-disciple bond that spanned reincarnations not touch his heart? Especially since he had always been the one being taken care of. Even knowing that the celestial spirit god was his biological father, Tian Hao still regarded Guan as the most important and most respected person in his life. An hour later, Guan and the celestial spirit god looked at Tian Hao, waiting for his choice. Tian Hao clenched his fists, his face alternating between expressions, and finally he took a deep breath and said, "I choose to go to the misty immortal court. I should be the one to resolve my own troubles, rather than always rely on you both. I will prove my worth in the misty immortal court, and I also wish to ascend to immortality, to surpass these immortal monarchs. No matter their intentions, I will make them regret." He raised his eyes to Guan, his gaze firm. There was something he didn't say, but Guan could hear it in his heart. Guan smiled and said, "Then I will start looking forward to the day you surpass me, hoping that in the future, you can be my pillar of support." Tian Hao's eyes widened, and an embarrassed smile appeared on his face. His master had guessed his thoughts again. The celestial spirit god, watching Tian Hao's interaction with Guan, felt a tinge of envy. Before coming clean to Tian Hao, he had to admit that he was somewhat looking forward to Tian Hao's reaction. He had thought Tian Hao might be surprised or angry, but he never expected Tian Hao to be so calm toward him, as if it did not matter at all who his father was. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 631. Because she's the one who resembles me the most. Hearing Tian Hao's choice, Guan's face showed a gratified smile as he reflected, "My young disciple has indeed grown up, knowing he must take on his own responsibilities." Having said that, he stepped forward, moving past Tian Hao. Tian Hao turned around, his gaze following Guan. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Guan say, "I have entrusted you to your father." At these words, Tian Hao stopped in his tracks and turned his head to look at the celestial spirit god, furrowing his brow. He had a strong aversion to this biological father. From childhood to adulthood, he never lacked a father's love because, in his heart, his master was akin to a father, and he had always been happy without feeling the need for any inexplicably emerging familial bonds. The celestial spirit god, seeing through his thoughts, spoke expressionlessly, "I don't intend to continue any familial ties, but rather to head to the misty immortal court. You'd do well to become stronger. I will pass on divine skills to you. Before leaving, you can bid farewell to old acquaintances and also meet your mother." After hearing this, Tianhao asked in surprise, "My mother? Where is she?" "She's within the Qianquan sect." "What?" Tianhao was shocked and suddenly felt at a loss. The celestial spirit god raised his right hand, and a dazzling light enveloped Tianhao's face. In his eyes, the celestial spirit god seemed to have changed. The terrifying cloud that had loomed over the celestial spirit great world for thousands of years eventually dissipated, and the innate demon race members of the human world swiftly vanished, with celebrations erupting everywhere for this victory. Promoted by the Dao court and other major sects, the supporting Dao sword venerable became a known figure in the immortal cultivation realm within just a few decades, even reaching the ears of mortals with his legend. His reputation swiftly surpassed that of the profound star immortal monarch. CTH Nefire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The followers of the profound star immortal monarch, who had been developing for tens of thousands of years, could not compete with a single action by the supporting Dao sword venerable. The common people were not fools. They truly felt the threat posed by the innate human race and thus felt a profound gratitude towards the supporting Dao sword venerable. Since the profound star immortal monarch had never sheltered them, how could the two be compared? There were even claims that the innate human race had been sent by the faction of immortal gods led by the profound star immortal monarch, suggesting that only those in suffering and despair would hope for the salvation of immortal gods. Such provocative statements spread quickly. Time passed in this context. Whether it was the profound star immortal monarch or the Tai immortal monarch, neither sent forth immortal gods again, and as time passed, the influence of the supporting Dao sword venerable's world-saving deeds began to wane since there were always new figures arising to pique people's curiosity. 300 years later, inside the Taoist field of the beginningless, the day was sunny with clear skies and shimmering waters, and even the breeze carried a coolness with it. In the courtyard, Guwen was instructing Xianxia in artifact refining, who was using his artifact refining cauldron. Guwen no longer crafted Dao treasures himself, but the cauldron, having been used to create many treasures, had essentially reached the standard of Dao treasures, with outstanding refining capabilities. Looking across the entire celestial spirit great world, no other cauldron could compare with Guwen's artifact refining cauldron. An Xian appeared out of thin air behind Guwen and asked, "Master, Tianhao is going to outer heaven, and he said you've agreed. Is that true?" Her tone was somewhat anxious. Although Tianhao had grown up, outer heaven was incredibly dangerous, and Tianhao was not yet at a level where he could ignore its threats. Moreover, from what she understood of Tianhao's intent, this trip seemed like a farewell, as he was unlikely to return. An Xian hadn't been overly warm to Tianhao from childhood, mainly finding it awkward and always reminded of An Hao when she saw him. But now that she knew Tianhao was the reincarnation of An Hao, her feelings toward him had naturally changed. Her senior brother had always been like this. She had said farewell to him more than once. Without the master, she felt An Hao would have died many times over, a concept she couldn't grasp and wished to oppose. Guwen, with his back toward An Xian, said, "This time he's not leaving for himself." "What do you mean?" An Xian asked. Just as the words left her mouth, she suddenly thought of something. Could it be that the innate human race is here because of Tianhao? She then thought of An Hao from her past life, who died to save this world. It seemed like An Hao never lived for himself. His birth was always accompanied by a mission. Perhaps to the An family he was an irresponsible ancestor, but he certainly did not owe anything to all living beings. He even had the merit of saving the world. Guwen did not answer An Xian but continued to instruct Xianxia on artifact refining. Although Xianxia was curious about why Tianhao had left, she did not ask. Ever since she started following Guwen, she saw many people come to Guwen's side, and also saw many people leave. In Xianxia's eyes, within the Taoist field of the beginningless, only An Xian and celestial demon child were like her, able to accompany Guwen continuously. Everyone else more or less yearned for the outside world. It could even be said that they only endured here to become stronger. An Xian stood still, quickly understanding. Her master saw things more clearly than she did, and Tianhao's destiny pattern was not something she could imagine. She and Anhao were never on the same path. They were just born in the same place as children. After a long time, when an Xian completely let go, she was about to turn and leave when Guan suddenly called out to her, "An Xian, in a while, come with your master on a trip." An Xian couldn't help but ask in confusion, "Where to? Immortal Seeking Island?" Guan looked at her and laughed. "Let's go see the place Hao wanted to go." Upon hearing this, Anzin's eyes widened, revealing a look of delighted surprise. After hearing this, Shenzhen immediately turned her head to look at Guan, wanting to speak, but he pressed his left index finger to her mouth, silencing her. She could only widen her eyes, looking at him with a resentful expression. "Okay," an Xian quickly said and then vanished on the spot. Guan then walked towards his own house. Shenzhen asked, "Aren't you afraid that she'll tell Tianhao since you told her in advance?" Without turning his head, Guan said, "She won't do that." "Why?" "Because she is the most like me." Shenzhen was stunned, carefully pondering the commonalities between an Xian and Guan. Under the night sky, atop a majestic peak, sat a temple without a roof, and on the high platform inside, a figure was meditating. It was Zhang Buku. The current Zhang Buku had a presence that was entirely different from before. His stature was even more imposing. Draped in a black robe embroidered with a yellow dragon, his long hair fluttered slightly. Even though he was sitting with his eyes closed, he emitted an extremely dangerous aura. A figure appeared out of thin air in the temple, a ragged-looking man. It was Su Yu, who had once shared hardship with Zhang Buku. Even after following Zhang Buku to attain immense power, Su Yu still maintained a beggar-like appearance, making his true cultivation level inscrutable. "My demon emperor, are you still here studying divine skills, forgetting about the matter we agreed on?" Su Yu asked in a whining, teasing tone. Zhang Buku opened his eyes and looked at him, unperturbed, asking, "So soon?" "Just right, there's a transcendental being gathering forces. Although it's the lowest celestial Tao immortal position, the chances are good, much easier than the trials inside the celestial Tao immortal stone," Su Yu said with a smile. Zhang Buku hesitated and asked, "If I go, how long will it be before I can return? What about our empire?" "First, secure a foothold upon arrival. That transcendental being wants to take down someone who offended him. This mission is likely about subduing an entire great thousand world. Hard to say how long it will take. As for this demon race imperial dynasty, why worry? It will not face tribulation for a myriad of years to come. You should have confidence, our deterrent power is very strong," Su Yu replied. By the end, his tone held a hint of dissatisfaction. Zhang Buku always managed to find something wrong. He had seen other demon emperors and demon emperors of different great thousand worlds, even witnessed an emperor at the end of the demon race's causality. In his view, Zhang Buku, as a demon emperor, still fell short. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 632, The Fortune of the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Although Su Yu's words were sharp, Zhang Buku had grown accustomed to them. Su Yu played an undeniable role in his journey to this day. In critical moments, Su Yu was always so reliable, and more than once rescued him from desperate situations. Their bond had long since become one of life and death trust. "Then let's go compete for an immortal position." Zhang Buku looked at Su Yu and said earnestly. In his heart, though, he was thinking of two other people. If he could ascend to immortality, he should be able to find Master Gu and Li Ya. What expressions would they wear when faced with the immortal him? With this thought, his fighting spirit was ignited instantly, and his eyes blazed like torches. Su Yu, seeing him all of a sudden excited, sighed inwardly, truly an enigmatic fellow. At the end of the year, Guan stood on a cliff, braving the heavy snow, watching as the figures of the celestial spirit god and Tianhao disappeared into the world gate. Guan could see that their journey was going smoothly, but the cause and effect beyond the misty immortal court became unpredictable, indicating that there lay mighty beings in the misty immortal court not to be underestimated. This was good. he needed the misty immortal court to be strong enough now. Moreover, Guan felt that even if Tianhao was targeted, he would not die. Neither Profound Residence Immortal Monarch nor Tai Immortal Monarch seemed like they would send assassins for Tianhao, but rather seemed more likely to capture him. Just like the 72 immortals of Jin Dong, upon discovering Tianhao, they did not annihilate him with thunderous might, they even had the leisure to speak. What exactly is your origin? Gu and his gaze turned profound, his thoughts stretched even further. Who sent and how to Ziwei Immortal Palace? Why did they send and how away to escape the control of the Celestial Court? Even though he had reached Miaojin Daluo Immortal Realm Perfection in cultivation level, there were still things beyond his comprehension. He wasn't troubled by this, for he had means to resolve his current perplexities. That is to break through. As long as he was strong enough, he would be able to see through the fog that lay before him. Guan looked for a while, then turned and walked down the mountain. The heavy snow soon covered his figure, and the footprints he left behind quickly disappeared, without leaving a trace. Time is like this snow, erasing all marks in the world. Given enough time, even the strongest and most magnificent things will fade away. 10 years later, an Xen followed Guan on the mountain ridge. The setting sun stretched their shadows long. Master, don't deceive me, we are still on the 9-spirit continent. How could we reach the place Tianhao wants to go? You wouldn't use this as a metaphor to teach me some life lessons, would you? An Xen couldn't help questioning, her face filled with suspicion. If that was truly the case, then she would have to forget it. Since he is the master, she could only endure. Guan laughed and said, "What's the hurry? Use your immortal emperor's eye to sense it." Upon hearing this, an Xian immediately activated her immortal emperor's eye, and her pupils turned purple. Her view of the world changed. She found that their surroundings were not the forests of the 9-spirit continent, but a mysterious cosmic void. A gray airflow came from ahead, and upon careful sensing, she realized that it was the breath of the great Tao. She was greatly shocked and began to seriously sense the great Tao essences along the way. What was going on? Was this an illusion divine power? Or had she actually arrived in another place? An Xian, filled with curiosity, watched Guan's figure ahead. Guan continued to walk leisurely as if stepping over rough mountain terrain, his strides not that of walking on flat ground. Moreover, an Xian felt a strong sense of kinship emanating from Guan. Without guessing, she knew it was the perception granted by Guan's immortal emperor's eye. The master who imparted her with the immortal emperor's eye, surely he himself had mastered such peerless divine skills. She secretly compared and found that her immortal emperor's eye was far inferior to her master's. This gap was greater than any description in the world. She felt that if she faced her master's immortal emperor's eye, she might not even have the courage to resist. It was an immensely vast aura that made her feel incredibly insignificant. I have many disciples, and they have each received different parts of my inheritance, but the immortal emperor's eye, I have only passed it on to you alone. It is not only because this divine skill is difficult to cultivate, but also because I see the most potential in you. In fact, I think you are my most outstanding disciple, and you will surprise everyone. Guan's voice came from ahead, casual in tone, but the content of his words filled an Xen with joy and surprise. Although she had followed Guan for 88,000 years, it was the first time she had heard her master speak so highly of her. Whether it was in Hao Yangjian, the current celestial demon child, blood prison great saint, LV Xian, or Chen Chuan, so many geniuses have appeared under the master's guidance, she never dared to imagine that she would be the favorite disciple of her master. An unprecedented surprise and touch filled her heart, converging into a mysterious force that caused changes in her immortal emperor's eye. Purplish auras escaped from her immortal emperor's eye's purple pupils, entwining around her eye sockets and branding into unusual purple Tao patterns. Although Guan, walking ahead, did not look back, the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned. And Xin's immortal emperor's eye had transformed. The reason for the transformation was not just because of Guan's words, which were just a catalyst. The main influence was the surrounding Tao intent. At this moment, they were walking on the path of the great Tao, surrounded by the intent of the Great Tao. The path of the Great Tao is boundless and beyond ordinary natural forms. He used the Taoist celestial net step to walk on the edge of the Great Tao path, where no one could detect their presence. Search * the novelier. T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. But this path was very dangerous, and the slightest carelessness could lead to complete annihilation. An XN was unaware of the fortune she was in. She could feel changes within herself, which made her even more grateful to her master. Time seemed to stand still as an XN gradually entered a state of self-forgetting. Her immortal emperor's eye allowed her to see many impactful images. In absolute darkness, a big explosion occurred, giving birth to the universe, with countless shards of rock flying and becoming pieces of worlds, which then gave birth to all living things. She saw the origin and destruction of life, the collision of Tao creating the rules of heaven and earth, and she even saw terrifying figures standing with their backs to all living beings at the site of the explosion. So many images overwhelmed her sight, and during this process, she absorbed some power. This power came from the Great Tao. To absorb the power of the Great Tao from something akin to an illusion was beyond Enzin's own comprehension. She realized that she still didn't understand the immortal emperor's eye completely. Perhaps the reason her master said she was his most outstanding disciple was mainly because she had cultivated the immortal emperor's eye. Master once said that the immortal emperor's eye holds different divine skills for different individuals, and they are very profound. Perhaps my immortal emperor's eye is more than just about absorbing power for my own use. An XN thought to herself as she continued to immerse in the current fortune. She didn't know how much time had passed. It could have been a day or two, or maybe thousands of years. Suddenly, an XN suddenly woke up, stumbled, nearly bumping into Guan, but fortunately, Guan steadied her with his index finger on her forehead. "We have arrived," Guan said with a smile to an XN, who came back to her senses and looked around subconsciously. They were standing amidst a brilliant starry sky, countless stars and varying massive nebulae visible in every direction, all so beautiful it seemed unreal. An XN was still immersed in the fortune of her immortal emperor's eye and felt a sense of loss. She asked subconsciously, "Where is this place?" Guan looked in a certain direction and said, "Misty Immortal Court, where your senior brother will practice in the future, and perhaps he will ascend to immortality there." Upon hearing this, an XN fully awakened. Her curiosity prompted her to ask, "Could it be that immortal gods reside here?" Guan replied, "Not exactly, but immortal gods have been born here." As soon as he finished speaking, a rainbow light streaked across the depths of the starry space ahead. It was a cultivator who looked like an immortal, with an extraordinary demeanor, surrounded by several treasures, moving at an extremely fast speed. He suddenly stopped, not far from Guan, and an XN stood still, his eyes widened, his body trembling slightly. This scene left an XN puzzled, and just as she was about to ask, her eyes suddenly widened. Suddenly, a figure burning with black flames appeared out of nowhere behind the cultivator, as tall as 100 feet, like a mountain behind him. The figure with the black flames was raising its right hand, with the index finger touching the cultivator's head. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 633. The Great Tao is boundless. Looking at that black flame figure, an XN was scared and dared not to speak, for fear of startling the other party. The figure appeared out of nowhere, and XN was completely unaware. Now just looking at him, she felt chilled to the bone. Even with the advancement of her immortal emperor's eye, she felt terrified when looking at this figure. This was an instinctive reaction to mortal danger, telling her at first glance that she was definitely no match for the other party. But soon, an XN realized that the person seemed not to see them. She couldn't help but turn her head to look at her master, noticing his calm face, quietly watching the black flame figure and the cultivator. Even that cultivator being suppressed by the black flame figure seemed unfathomably profound to an XN. "Master, what is the cultivation level of the cultivator being pursued?" Curiously, an XN asked. Guan replied, "Heaven encompassing free immortal, ranking above profound Yuan free immortal. Heaven encompassing? An XN was startled. She knew that above free immortal was the Dao fruit realm, and also knew that the profound Yuan free immortal was the publicly recognized strongest realm in the celestial spirit great world. Even the master of the Dao court was of this realm. The existence stronger than the master of the Dao court was actually suppressed by an unknown being, leaving no room to display the might of a heaven-encompassing free immortal. An XN asked further, "What realm is the being behind him?" Guan answered, "Innate golden immortal realm, ranking above heaven-encompassing free immortal, the first realm of the golden immortal Dao fruit." Innate golden immortal. And Xin's horizons were greatly broadened. The higher the cultivation, the less likely it is to overcome a higher realm. If you encounter a being of a much higher realm in the future, it is best to deter. Do not try to be brave, Guan earnestly advised. Encountering such a battle was no coincidence. Guan had foreseen the nearby battle to the Misty Immortal Court and specifically brought an Exen to see, letting her understand the terrifying world beyond the Great Thousand World. The universe where the Misty Immortal Court is located is not the Great Thousand World. It's more vast than the Great Thousand World, and the Dao rules here are even more intense. After calculations, Guan knew that such a universe was called the Dao Universe, higher than the Great Thousand World. "Don't worry, Master, I won't venture out alone. I want to keep cultivating by your side," an Xian said with a smile. She didn't find cultivating by Guan's side dull at all. She relished the feeling of becoming constantly stronger. Moreover, she could watch the ebb and flow of the human world. If she wished to go out and play, the Qianquan sect was a good place. Within the Qianquan sect, she could feel the changes in the world. New and interesting things entered her view every year. Just then, the black flame figure stretched out a hand and, with the touch on the heaven-encompassing free immortal's head, this heaven-encompassing free immortal was obliterated, ceasing to exist. This made an Xen deeply moved. No matter how high one's cultivation is, would there always be a being they cannot overcome? She couldn't help but wonder, this black flame figure is an innate golden immortal, yet couldn't see her and her master. How high is her master's realm? It must be higher than the innate golden immortal realm. The corners of Guan's mouth slightly curved upwards. Above the innate golden immortal are the heaven-balancing golden immortal and then the Taiqing golden immortal. Going further up are the heaven-opening Daoyuo immortal, Miaozhen Daoyuo immortal. The gap between him and the black flame figure was far beyond Enzin's imagination and cognition, but he would not reveal his true cultivation level. After exterminating the heaven-encompassing free immortal, the black flame figure vanished into thin air. In the Dao universe, beings of any realm must be cautious, Guan remarked with a sigh. An Xian admired Guan even more. With her master's cultivation, he should be able to easily obliterate the black flame figure, but the master never bullied the weak. Compared to those who acted recklessly and without restraint, she admired someone like her master who could control his own desires even more. Although master loves to read some frivolous books, in Enzin's eyes, master is the person who most fits the image of an immortal. He knows the secular world, yet he is not of it, truly an immortal, yet without the arrogance of one. She will always remember the words her master told her. True strength is not being invincible, but having the capacity to accept those who are weaker than oneself. Guan continued to move forward, and an Xian quickly followed. Along the way, an Xian observed the Dao universe. Every star and every nebula seemed to contain some Dao intent, allowing her immortal emperor's eye to continuously gain insights. She was walking slowly, but the scenery around her moved quickly. She knew this was master's doing. About an hour passed. Guan stopped walking, and Xen came to his side, and looked ahead. Her beautiful eyes widened, filled with wonder. In front of them was a piece of starry sky emitting dazzling light, with majestic immortal mansions suspended, standing above the nebulas like numerous stars, layered upon each other, presenting a vision that shook the soul with its representation of the great Tao. Looking at the grandeur of the misty immortal court, Enzin's immortal emperor's eyes slightly contracted, as if to deeply imprint this scene in her memory. Will senior brother be cultivating in such a holy land? An Xen murmured softly to herself, A look of anticipation appeared on her face, hoping Tianhao would show his peerless elegance in such a place. Guan spoke. The great thousand world is countless, as is the Tao universe. Even as your master, I am not clear on where the end of the Tao lies, nor how many Tao universes there are. Pursuing the Tao is the most wonderful world, and in the process of pursuit lies longevity. Sar the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. My child, your immortal emperors, I should not only devour power, but also look at the Tao. The more scenery you see, the higher your Tao practice will be. Wuxia translates to without beginning, just like the infinite great Tao. Listening to Gu An's words, and Xin's mindset also began to shift. Pursuing the great Tao? Is this why Master faces all calamities with a serene smile, and confronts all tribulations with lightness? And Xian also wanted to possess such a mindset, so she watched very intently. Yet, standing beside Master and looking at the same scenery, she still could not imagine what everything looked like through Master's eyes. Master, has Tianhao already gone in? And Xian asked. Guan replied, he is currently engaging in combat with someone. This will be his first battle in the misty immortal court, and he will get through it smoothly. And Xian smiled, hearing Master's words. She was completely reassured. If Master said it would go smoothly, then it certainly would. The Master and disciple stood in the starry sky, gazing at the misty immortal court. And Xian was immersed in the grandeur of the misty immortal court, while Guan felt the destiny of the misty immortal court. The misty immortal court must be hiding a heaven-opening Daluo immortal, but not a Miaojin Daluo immortal. However, this does not exclude the possibility of a factor relating to the Miaojin Daluo immortal in the misty immortal court. Guan inexplicably thought of the Emperor of Eternal Lives Master, Celestial Buddha. Where is Ling Mountain? He suddenly thought to check on Ling Mountain. He began to deduce the fates and cause-effect of the misty immortal court. The misty immortal court is closely related to Ling Mountain, and if he deduced, he would surely find traces. Indeed, he found them. Ling Mountain is in another Tao universe. Compared to the memory of the Emperor of Eternal Life, Ling Mountain is even more vast in Guan's eyes. Under Ling Mountain, several Tao universes are suppressed, and inside Ling Mountain, there are many great worlds, all hidden within the bodies of powerful Buddhist cultivators or certain treasures. The Bodhi sacred tree where the Emperor of Eternal Life once resided conceals thousands of worlds. Although these worlds are not considered great worlds, they too nurture cultivation civilizations. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 634, 10,000 years per page. Guan brought an Xian to the misty immortal court, indeed only to broaden her experiences. After Tianhao departed, he needed to cultivate another absolute talent for Wuxia, not for any special reason, but because he wished to do so. While an Xian was experiencing the misty immortal court, Guan was feeling the Ling Mountain. Following the endless cause and effect of Ling Mountain, he discovered a vaster heaven and earth, different planes, and he even glimpsed the River of Destiny. Upon seeing the River of Destiny, Guan couldn't help but think of a son from one of his past lives. Lu Qiuxian, the son of Lu Han, born as a primordial cause and effect body. On the verge of death, Lu Han asked Lu Qiuxian to revive himself, but somehow, Lu Qiuxian became bound to the River of Destiny, unable to escape from it, yet also thus gaining eternal lifespan. Throughout the long years, Guan occasionally observed Lu Qiuxian, who, after merging with the River of Destiny, seemed like its guardian. His cultivation level was far inferior to Guan's current one, but with the River of Destiny, no one could completely annihilate him. Lu Qiuxian kept searching for his parents within the River of Destiny. Guan saw this but was powerless to help. Guan's exploration into the path of destiny was profound. He could feel Lu Qiuxian's obsession. If he could meet his father, the obsession would dissipate, and Lu Qiuxian would perish, not entering reincarnation. Thus, Guan wanted to wait until he was powerful enough to save Lu Qiuxian before intervening. The lifespan reincarnation allowed Guwen to enhance his understanding of the Great Tao and even his life experiences, but it also left many regrets. Lu Qiuxin searched for Lu Han. The Black Profound Emperor sought desperately for Fairy Bai Xian. The Emperor of Eternal Life wanted to save Fairy Yao Xian. Other reincarnated beings also had their own regrets, though Guwen had few emotional regrets. It was only before death that he felt regret for not reaching a higher realm. Guwen's gaze quickly found Lu Qiuxin. Lu Qiuxin was meditating within the river of destiny. He wasn't cultivating, but endless searching within destiny for traces of his parents. His cultivation level would strengthen over time, and by aura, it was already comparable to the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. Guwen suddenly wanted to know what Lu Qiuxian's state of mind was like over the long years. His pupils suddenly changed, transforming into the immortal emperor's eye. The meditating Lu Qiuxin opened his eyes, frowning as he looked all around. Guwen ceased his probing, feeling somewhat surprised inside. The heaven-encompassing free immortal can sense the surveillance of this Miaozhen Daluo immortal? He felt relieved. Lu Qiuxin indeed had an extraordinary demeanor. If he were still alive today, his cultivation level would certainly be even higher than it is now. Just as Guwen was about to withdraw his gaze, his brow suddenly furrowed. Among the countless causes and effects surrounding Lu Qiuxin, he saw a figure approaching Lu Qiuxin. This figure was very blurry, carrying an overwhelming murderous intent. Guwen couldn't see through this figure, only that it was approaching Lu Qiuxin, and even could not calculate when it would reach behind Lu Qiuxin. This was not an approach in the conventional sense, but a closeness on a causal level. The figure was moving through some sort of causal method to attack Lu Qiuxin. Guwen couldn't warn Lu Qiuxin, and it would have been useless anyway. With the river of destiny, Lu Qiuxin couldn't resist the other's approach. Knowing beforehand was just adding to his worries. After a long while, an Xen retracted her gaze, turned her head to look at Guwen, and saw her master frowning. Following her master's gaze, she could see nothing. This made her nervous. What matter or what kind of existence could make her master frown? In her eyes, there was nothing that could confound her master. Even a deceased person, her master could retrieve them from reincarnation. Guwen's brows smoothed out. He turned his head to look at an Xen and smiled, asking, "Ready to go back?" An Xen nodded, saying, "It's time to go back. I now just want to cultivate properly. Even though I haven't been out for long, I seem to have more thoughts about the immortal emperor's eye." Guwen looked at her eyes still imprinted with purple Dao patterns and nodded slightly, then turned around and walked back the way he had come. An Xen followed behind Guwen, closing her eyes as she walked. With each step, she left behind a shadow, identical to herself, as if it was a duplicate. 10 steps left 10 shadows. 100 steps left 100 shadows. Although Guwen did not look back, he was aware of the situation behind him. He had already sensed that Nzin's immortal emperor's eye was not so simple. Absorbing external forces and transforming them into her own in a short time seemed powerful, but compared to his immortal emperor's eye divine power, it was far inferior. His immortal emperor's eye could twist reality and fiction, reshaping the past and erasing the future. Nzin's immortal emperor's eye also penetrates the past and future, but it is different from Guwen's reality twisting. As they continued forward, the shadows and Xen left behind began to change. Their clothing altered, and their aura shifted, reminiscent of her from different periods. An Xen slowly opened her eyes, her instincts telling her to look back. "Do not look back, maintain your current sensation." The voice of Guwen came from ahead, steadying Nzin's head. She watched her master's back, and her mind cleared of distractions. They were still walking on the boundless edge of the path of the Great Tao, without encountering any obstacles. An Xen felt as though she had been dreaming, waking up back inside the Taoist field of the beginningless. She turned her head and saw LV Xian and Qin Chuan standing in front of her master, debating something while the master had picked up a book again. She didn't feel that what happened before was a dream. She smiled meaningfully and then turned to leave, preparing to go back to her room for secluded cultivation. Shenzhen, who was sitting in front of the artifact refining cauldron, looked at the departing figure of an Xen, frowning slightly. Previously, she could see Nzin's karma and, through it, envision Enzin's past or future scenes, but now, she could no longer do so. Returning from a trip with such great progress? Shenzhen wondered curiously, her gaze then following towards Guan, her eyes filled with anticipation. Guan, hearing LV Xian and Chenchuan arguing, was indifferent and did not look at an Exon but was immersed in his book. When a page flipped, it represented an era in the human world. Sir, the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After 10,000 years. Guan closed the book, stood up, stretched his body, bathed in the sunlight. His posture was so relaxed. The small wooden plaques at his waist jingled slightly, unbeknownst to anyone that they were transformed by immortals. Celestial Cyan and Tianbai came rushing from outside the courtyard, and upon reaching Guan, they chattered non-stop about the legends they had heard. 10,000 years had passed, and many prominent figures and extraordinary talents had emerged in the human world. After the disappearance of Tian Hao, another unparalleled prodigy from the Dao court has emerged, rivaling the legends. The two compared the achievements of this eternal prodigy with those of Tian Hao, debating whose talent was stronger. Guan had already noticed this eternal prodigy, who indeed could match Tian Hao, for this person was a reincarnation of an immortal god. Yes, an immortal from the celestial court. It was a maneuver by Tai Immortal Monarch. This immortal monarch is approaching, ready to descend personally into the celestial spirit great world, for the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave. As Guan limbered up, he looked down contemplatively. Where should Tai Immortal Monarch be placed? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 635 Guan vs. Immortal Monarch. Master, do you think the Emperor Tianhong of the Dao court can match Tian Hao? Celestial Cyan turned her head to look at Guan, asking seriously. She couldn't argue with Tianbai, who always believed that no one could surpass Tian Hao. However, the cultivation speed of Emperor Tianhong was not inferior to Tian Hao, and his battle achievements were even more fierce, often winning across realms and even having records of one against many cross-realm victories, which were both ancient and brilliant. Coupled with the momentum built by Dao Court, the people have already forgotten Tian Hao and only sing praises to Emperor Tianhong. From the comparison of battle achievements, Celestial Cyan felt that Emperor Tianhong truly wasn't weaker than Tian Hao. Tianbai merely looked down on the talents from the outside out of reflex. Guan replied, within the celestial spirit great world, no one's talent can match that of Tian Hao, and he has even stronger destiny pattern yet to be unleashed. This statement made Tianbai puff out her chest involuntarily. Guan continued, but once they leave the celestial spirit great world, there's indeed little difference between the two, and they are bound to leave the celestial spirit great world to venture into higher realms. Upon hearing this, Celestial Cyan immediately smiled and stared defiantly at Tianbai. Instead of worrying about these, it would be better to think about your own cultivation. Your innate qualities are indeed mediocre, but having cultivated by my side for so many years, you actually have the qualifications to compete with any genius in the world, said Guan, shaking his head, causing the two women to reveal embarrassed smiles. Their nature was lively, making it difficult for them to concentrate on cultivation for long periods. What Guan said was no false praise. Even the reincarnated immortal god, Emperor Tianhong, did not have the Miao Zhen Daoyuo immortal constantly releasing Dao intent in his previous life. Tianbai, clinging to Guan's arm, cooed, with so many dojo disciples, there will always be someone who ranks first, we just need to not fall behind. Exactly. Recently, Blood Prison Great Saint's progress has been very fast. He is now unanimously recognized as the #1 disciple of Wuxia. I feel that Emperor Tianhong is no match for him, said Celestial Cyan, hugging Gu An's other arm with a look of agreement, standing with Tianbai against Gu An's stern criticism. Guan said earnestly, actually, in my eyes, you are not inferior to the Blood Prison Great Saint. In some respects, I even think you are the most formidable because you have each other. Just like the Dao treasures I crafted for you, they are meant to complement each other. This statement made Celestial Cyan's and Tianbei's eyes light up, and they began asking in which aspects they were considered stronger. All of a sudden, Guan felt a bit of a headache. He was simply customarily praising them, encouraging them to cultivate actively. They could be excited, but did they have to rub against him in their excitement? After frolicking with them for a while, Guan finally sent them back to their own cultivations. Afterward, Anexin, having received his message, appeared out of thin air in front of him and curiously asked, "Master, what's the matter?" Since her visit to the misty immortal court 10,000 years ago, Anexin had put aside all matters, allowing Celestial Cyan and Tian Bai to coordinate with Chenkuan's sect while she remained in closed-door cultivation, studying the immortal Emperor's Eye. This allowed the Blood Prison Great Saint to become the undisputed strongest disciple in the dojo within 10,000 years. Should an Xin and the Blood Prison Great Saint go to battle now, the Blood Prison Great Saint would suffer a miserable defeat, according to Gu In's deduction. With the immortal Emperor's Eye divine power, an Xin was more than just a little stronger than the Blood Prison Great Saint. Within the same realm, Guan even felt that Nzin's suppressive power could surpass that of Tian Hao. After her visit to the misty immortal court, Nzin's immortal Emperor's Eye fully awakened, making her divine power extremely suitable for battle. It had been 10,000 years since Guan and an Xin had seen each other, but for an Xin she did not feel the influence of time on herself, at least her attitude towards Guan had not changed at all. "I am about to engage in a battle, would you like to watch?" Guan asked with a smile. Upon hearing this, Nzin's eyes lit up and she nodded immediately. Just as an Xin was about to ask more questions, the scenery around them suddenly changed, and they appeared beneath the world gate in an instant. Although this was not the first time an Xin felt Gu In's divine powers, she was still startled. In these 10,000 years, she could feel her own progress, which greatly boosted her self-confidence, but facing her master, she still felt like a frog in a well. An Xin did not dwell on this emotion. She turned to look, her gaze landing on the towering world gate. "What is this?" An Xin asked curiously, sensing the boundless power of the great Tao contained within the gate, something she had never seen before. Indeed, following her master out always broadened her horizons. Guan did not keep it a secret, starting to introduce the world gate to her. Learning that this was the heavenly Tao gate leading outside the Great Thousand World, and that beings could only leave the celestial spirit Great World through this gate made an Xin more curious. Her master didn't use the world gate to go to the misty immortal court before. Guan then shared the news of the impending arrival of Tai Immortal Monarch with her. Having already conversed with her about Tian Hao's karma, she was aware of the immortal monarch's background. Tai Immortal Monarch was no ordinary immortal god but an existence higher than celestial gods and star monarchs. The fact that her master was about to battle such a being filled her with anticipation. Will Tai Immortal Monarch come out from within the world gate? An Xin asked, her gaze fixed on the world gate. The inactive world gate appeared dark and mysterious, its inner space translucent, showing the cosmic scenery behind it, vast and majestic. Guan reached for the wooden token at his waist, playing with it gently, and said, "Yes, soon you'll be able to witness the immortal's grandeur." Meanwhile, in a mysterious dark space, the 72 immortals of Golden Cave appeared one after another. They opened their eyes to find themselves unable to take a single step, only able to turn their heads and twist their bodies. They soon all faced one direction, and looking along it, they saw a vast light screen floating in the darkness ahead, allowing them to see the scene of Guan and an Xin by the world gate. Source: Web Novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com sur the Ovalfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 635 Guan vs. Immortal Monarch _2". What is this place? It seems we've been sealed by that guy, and he apparently wants us to witness something. Listen carefully to their conversation. Is an immortal monarch coming? This fellow is outrageously arrogant. He is indeed powerful, but how dare he challenge an immortal monarch? Big brother, what should we do? We can't just sit here and wait for death. The 72 immortals of Jin-dong were agitated, cursing Guan, and eventually, they turned their gaze towards the purple dragon star monarch. CTH Novelier. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The purple dragon star monarch's face was expressionless. Earlier, when they were sealed into wooden tokens, they all fell into a coma, so they felt as if they had just been captured. But the purple dragon star monarch keenly sensed that a considerable amount of time might have already passed in the celestial spirit great world. If that was the case, what had Guan done to them during this time? Thinking about the methods Guan used to capture them made it hard for the purple dragon star monarch to speak and soothe everyone. He felt that Guan might indeed possess the power to contend with an immortal monarch. He was the only Taiqing Golden Immortal, as well as one who attained Taiqing Golden Immortal Realm perfection in cultivation level, and his vision was more penetrating. In his eyes, Guan was definitely an existence of the Daluo realm. Such an existence, not belonging to the celestial court, truly made him uneasy. But there was nothing the purple dragon star monarch could do now, except to wait quietly. In reality, Guan continued talking with an Xian. He deliberately let the will of the 72 immortals of Jin-dong fall into his own Dao fruit universe, allowing them to peek at the battle. The reason for doing this was that Guan had no intention of allowing the 72 immortals of Jin-dong to leave. Immortal gods might be unkillable, but they could be sealed, and even if they would eventually be discovered by the celestial court, it would at least buy Guan some time. For the celestial court, tens of millions of years might just be a fleeting moment. From the celestial court's lack of urgency in ordering the celestial spirit god to quickly obliterate the celestial spirit great world, it was evident that their perception of time far exceeded that of mortals. Any immortal god who comes seeking trouble, he plans to seal away. If he released them directly, that would surely bring great trouble. Time passed by second. It wasn't until the world gate trembled that Guan and an Xian stopped talking. An Xian turned to face the world gate, which burst forth with intense light, converging inside. This was the light of the heavenly Tao, which enveloped the surface of the celestial spirit great world. Feeling the strong light of the heavenly Tao up close, an Xian could sense the might and unfathomable depth of the celestial court. What kind of formidable power could have created such a force of order? As the world gate was fully activated, a vast and infinite aura poured out from within, forming a majestic celestial mist that spread out, striking awe into all who witnessed it. Within the Dao fruit universe, the 72 immortals of Jin-dong became excited. The immortal monarch has come, he is here to save us, a female immortal said excitedly, her face filled with admiration. The other immortals of Jin-dong were also surprised and delighted. Despite having heard from Guan and an Xian that the Tai immortal monarch would come, seeing the aura of the Tai immortal monarch actually appear stirred them deeply, even inciting a sense of sacrificial devotion to the end. On the other side, a figure gradually emerged from the intense light beneath the world gate, appearing as though he had walked from the end of the ages, or as if he had come from the very origin of everything, with an indescribable sacred aura assaulting Nzin's eyes. And Nzin's eyes instantly turned into the immortal emperor's eye, with purple Dao patterns appearing around her eye sockets, and her pupils reflecting the figure of Tai immortal monarch. During the wait, an Xian had been imagining what Tai immortal monarch would look like, but when she actually saw him, she couldn't help feeling an abject sense of inferiority. This was an essential difference in the nature of life. Whether it was cultivation level, soul, or cognition, an Xian instinctively felt inferior to the other. Heaven-defying one, you dare await my arrival here. Do you know what you are about to face? The voice of Tai immortal monarch emanated from within the world gate, echoing across the cosmic starry sky. In an instant, with the world gate at the center, the space in all directions burst into multicolored rainbow light, rendering this piece of the universe bizarre and fantastical, mesmerizing and mysterious. Listening to Tai immortal monarch's words, an Xian almost felt an impulse to kneel and bow her head. Her mind was shaken, unable to fathom just how profound Tai immortal monarch's Dao practice was. Guan stepped forward and Nzin's intense discomfort suddenly vanished. she looked towards Guan subconsciously. In her eyes, Guan's image abruptly grew in stature, and he could even be compared to Tai Immortal Monarch, who was still within the world gate. Within the Dao Fruit universe, the 72 immortals of Jindong also fixed their gaze upon Guan's figure. In their view, the silhouette of Tai Immortal Monarch, who was approaching them, seemed almost to overlap with Guan's figure. Despite their hatred for Guan, from this angle, they had to concede that Guan's presence was every bit as formidable as that of Tai Immortal Monarch. Fooling all living beings, isn't that also a violation of heavenly Dao? Guan's voice sounded, his tone calm. Tai Immortal Monarch continued to approach the gate, walking neither quickly nor slowly, but with each step, he displayed an unstoppable dominance. Finally, standing at the edge of the world gate, he remained bathed in the brilliant light of the heavenly Dao. Even an Xian could feel that with just one more step, he could reveal his true form. An Xian saw what seemed to be a scroll floating behind Tai Immortal Monarch. It surged like a river, and on his forehead was a golden pattern. In the absence of distinctive facial features, this golden pattern seemed like a vertical eye, making him appear even more divine, majestic, and inviolable. You dare to talk about heavenly Dao? What are you plotting against the Son of Heaven? The voice of Tai Immortal Monarch rang out once more, this time even more authoritative, thunderous, and deafening. Guan retorted, I do not know who the Son of Heaven is, nor what he represents. All I know is that you wish to capture my disciple. As for the current situation as an immortal monarch, how do you think it should be resolved? Tai Immortal Monarch fell silent, seemingly not having expected Guan to be unaware of Tianhao's origins. But that no longer mattered, as Guan had interfered with his grand plans and also captured his subordinates. Release the 72 immortals of Jindong and hand over the Son of Heaven. Let us consider this matter settled, and you may continue to hide and cultivate in this world. It will be as if I never encountered you. Tai Immortal Monarch spoke, equally convinced that Guan was a heaven-opening Daluo immortal hiding in the celestial spirit great world, evidently burdened with consequences unimaginable to all living beings. Guan must not dare to face the celestial court. Separated by the strong light of the heavenly Dao, Guan was unable to use lifespan detection on Tai Immortal Monarch, but he could sense that Tai Immortal Monarch was merely of heaven-opening Daluo immortal cultivation level. Such a cultivation level was nothing to fear. You can only choose one, either the whereabouts of the Son of Heaven in your words, or the freedom of the 72 immortals of Jindong. I need one of them to restrain you, to avoid any retaliation from you, Guan stated placidly. Tai Immortal Monarch did not sense the aura of the 72 immortals of Jindong but saw the wooden plaques on Guan's waist. No matter how he looked, those plaques appeared to be ordinary, made of common wood, without any mysteries. However, Guan's query was met with his disdain. A crude attempt at causing dissension. Do you really think you can trap the 72 immortals of Jindong? Since you insist on setting conditions, then feel the power of the immortal gods. Tai Immortal Monarch huffed coldly and took a step forward. White hair fluttered out from the strong light of the heavenly Dao, followed by the true body of Tai Immortal Monarch. The silver immortal ribbon concealed his eyes, and his pure white Dao robe flowed like feathers. The scroll hovering behind him was unfurling, revealing a vast expanse of heaven and earth. An aura far surpassing that of Taiching golden immortals erupted completely, solidifying the Dao rules of the entire celestial spirit great world. At that moment, time stood still, and everything ceased to move, save for the disciples in the Taoist field of the beginningless, who remained unaffected. However, they did not perceive the situation outside the Dao field. An Xen, standing behind Guan, felt it more profoundly. Faced with the might of Tai Immortal Monarch, she couldn't help but worry for her teacher. She felt that even the misty immortal court, when faced with such a terrifying presence, would likely be destroyed. Standing before the world gate, Tai Immortal Monarch slightly lifted his chin. Even with his eyes covered, his lofty demeanor was unmistakable. Regardless, an Xen thought the pride of the immortal gods was extreme, but she also felt it to be fitting, influenced by the Tao intent of Tai Immortal Monarch. It seems you are not as composed and self-assured as you appear. Have you ever pondered upon the sight of yourself kneeling before a mortal spirit? The voice of Guan rose, so very cold. Source: web novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 636 Celestial Emperor Bloodline. Guan's words were like the coldest sword in the world, piercing through the atmosphere of despair created by Tai Immortal Monarch, instantly dissipating the impact on an Exan. In the Tao Fruit universe, the 72 Immortals of Golden Cave felt Guan was even more audacious than Tai Immortal Monarch, and this arrogance left them unable to verbalize their curses. For some unknown reason, when Guan's words fell, the 72 Immortals of Jin Dong all harbored the absurd thought that Tai Immortal Monarch was going to be defeated. Standing before Guan, even Tai Immortal Monarch seemed suppressed, and despite his eyes being covered by his silver celestial threads, astonishment still colored his face. Kneel before a mortal spirit? Tai Immortal Monarch asked coldly, as golden Tao patterns on his forehead burst into fierce flames, as if the anger in his heart was instantly ignited, burning fiercely. Boom, Ixia the novel, the Ire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The entire universe shattered in an instant. The fragments of space appeared like broken glass, piercing into Nzin's field of vision, her immortal emperor's eyes widening, with her purple pupils trembling. She could feel the surrounding Tao rules receding rapidly like startled birds, as an endless sea of stars distanced themselves amidst the space debris. Then, everything abruptly came to a halt. An Xian instinctively turned her head, and wherever she looked, her gaze met suspended fragments of space, layered upon one another, dazzling and alarming her simultaneously. The celestial spirit great world was destroyed. The breath of all living beings vanished. And it happened in an instant. Her gaze shifted to Tai Immortal Monarch in front of her. The world gate remained, while the overwhelmingly powerful Tai Immortal Monarch displayed the posture of an immortal god unquestionably. Merely by his aura, he could shatter the great thousand world? And Nzin's mind went blank, as she could only stare dumbfounded at Tai Immortal Monarch. The shattered universe fell into silence, and the strong light of the heavenly Tao within the world gate also disappeared, appearing cautious and gloomy. Just then, she saw a pair of purple eyes emerging from the world gate behind Tai Immortal Monarch. That is, and Nzin's eyes widened, she recognized in a glance that those were the Immortal Emperor's eyes. Her master's Immortal Emperor's eyes. Standing behind Guan, she couldn't see his face, and with her divine sense suppressed by Tai Immortal Monarch's aura, she was intensely curious about her master's demeanor exhibiting the Immortal Emperor's eyes. What she was curious about was the very thing Tai Immortal Monarch feared. Tai Immortal Monarch stared at the purple light in Guan's eyes, gritting his teeth. Immortal Emperor's eyes. No wonder you have the confidence to contend with the celestial court. He stood still, not because he was stunned, but because he was suppressed by Guan's Immortal Emperor's eyes. The capability of Guan's Immortal Emperor's eyes was not just about reversing the past and altering truth, it also possessed tremendous power. Furthermore, with a higher realm than Tai Immortal Monarch, suppressing him was as easy as flipping his hand. The reason he allowed Tai Immortal Monarch to show his might was to let an Exan truly feel the strength of immortal gods as well as her own weakness. Since guiding an Xian to cultivate the Immortal Emperor's eyes, Guan truly intended to train her to be his strongest disciple. No matter how formidable Tian Hao and Hao were, they still basked in the glory of the celestial court. Although Nzin's comprehension grew stronger, she lacked a special destiny pattern and the way of cause and effect. Guan could already see Tian Hao's destiny pattern, so he was sure that the unremarkable Xian indeed had no great background. Guan looked down indifferently at Tai Immortal Monarch, who had destroyed the celestial spirit great world with a single move, clearly because he feared he couldn't take down Guan and wanted to cause a stir to attract the attention of the celestial court. How could such behavior, treating the lives of countless beings as nothing, not be deemed extremely evil. Unfortunately for Tai Immortal Monarch, he miscalculated. Guwen had not been merely engaging in idle talk with Tai Immortal Monarch previously, but instead was enveloping the entire celestial spirit great world with his power of the way of cause and effect, isolating it from the outside world. He dared to do so because he was certain that this Tai Immortal Monarch was not an avatar, which is precisely the strength of the way of cause and effect. For an avatar, the main body is the cause. Guwen did not answer Tai Immortal Monarch. In the shattered void all around, his immortal emperor's eye kept appearing, varying in sizes, densely packed, and filled with a sense of oppression. An Exine looked up and couldn't count the number of immortal emperor's eyes. At this moment, she felt that her own immortal emperor's eye was weak, uncertain if she could ever reach her master's realm in this life. Inside the Dao Fruit universe, the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave had not seen the immortal emperor's eye. In their field of vision, the universe only appeared shattered, while their Lord Tai Immortal Monarch fell into a bizarre stillness. As immortals, they naturally could tell that Tai Immortal Monarch was engaged in some kind of standoff with Guwen. After shattering the celestial spirit great world, it was impossible for Tai Immortal Monarch to simply stop. Which means, it is very likely that Tai Immortal Monarch is being suppressed. Looking again at the cosmic debris around the battlefield, the hearts of the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave couldn't help but feel a chilling dread. Purple Dragonstar Monarch furrowed his brows tightly. He was surprised and even angered by Tai Immortal Monarch's actions to destroy the celestial spirit great world. How could the immortal gods recklessly destroy the Great Thousand World? After the Great Thousand World was reconstructed, the celestial court had clearly abolished the order of destruction. Even if the destruction order were still in place, it was supposed to be the god of destruction who ends it, and not even beings with higher ranks than immortal positions should act recklessly. For the so-called Son of Heaven, should the immortal monarchs go to such lengths? Purple Dragonstar Monarch's mind was in turmoil. He was loyal to Tai Immortal Monarch, but in his heart, the celestial court held a higher place than Tai Immortal Monarch. He supported Tai Immortal Monarch in siding with the Son of Heaven, but Tai Immortal Monarch's actions made him feel that there were other schemes behind it. The Son of Heaven was reincarnated into the celestial spirit great world. Even if Tai Immortal Monarch succeeded, how would a Son of Heaven who had developed feelings for the celestial spirit great world view Tai Immortal Monarch? He did not believe that Tai Immortal Monarch had not considered this point. If so, there was only one possibility. Are you actually eyeing the celestial emperor bloodline? Purple Dragonstar Monarch's eyes revealed a color of shock, as an uncontrollable rage surged from the bottom of his heart, followed by a change in his gaze. Anger turned into disbelief. What did he see? Not only Purple Dragonstar Monarch, but other Golden Cave immortals also changed their countenance drastically, some even staring dumbfoundedly, yet not a single one of the Golden Cave immortals broke the silence. All shocked, they gazed at the screen in front of them. Within the screen, Tai Immortal Monarch trembled all over, his legs beginning to bend as if he were about to kneel before Guwen Gu and looked indifferent towards Tai Immortal Monarch, continuously intensifying the oppression of the Immortal Emperor's eye. He could make Tai Immortal Monarch kneel instantly, but he didn't do so. This slowly advancing despair and humiliation were more able to make Tai Immortal Monarch feel regret and fear. Even if he couldn't annihilate Tai Immortal Monarch completely, Guwen still intended to leave behind an indelible fear. Tai Immortal Monarch clenched his teeth, spitting out a word. Having exhausted all his strength, he actually couldn't resist the oppressive force on his body. He had almost forgotten the taste of being utterly powerless to resist. He was a celestial immortal monarch, yet he was going to kneel before a mortal spirit. Tai Immortal Monarch found it absurd. Extreme rage and hatred nearly drove him mad, but madness could not save him. As time passed, the hatred of Tai Immortal Monarch was gradually replaced by despair. Source: Web novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 637 Absolute Power. And Exen watched as Tai Immortal Monarch slowly knelt down, feeling a mix of emotions that were hard to articulate. There was a sense of relief, astonishment, and admiration for her master. At the same time, it was mostly the absurdity brought about by the collapse of the image of the immortal gods. Is this the immortal gods? Is this what represents the heavenly Tao, the existence that all living beings relentlessly pursue throughout their lives? When Tai Immortal Monarch's knees finally hit the ground, the pride of the immortal gods was completely torn apart. He lost his previous aura of divinity. Despite his eyes being covered as he lowered his head, he emanated an air of decay and weakness from the inside out. The gazes of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave also became entirely dim. They dared not, nor could they continue to curse Gu, and Tai Immortal Monarch was not only their lord but also their pride. The fact that he knelt down without any power to resist was something they could not accept. Just at this moment, the shattered universe within the light screen began to change, countless space fragments reversing towards the incoming direction. This scene drew the attention of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave. Under their gaze, the celestial spirit great world was quickly restored to its original state, leaving them in awe. What kind of power is this? Purple Dragonstar Monarch was shocked by Gu An's display of divine power, stirring up peculiar feelings in his heart. The immortal monarch representing the might of the celestial court was bringing about destruction. Was Guan deemed a heaven-defying being, saving all living beings? They watched as Guan raised his hand, and Tai Immortal Monarch shrank following his gesture, landing in the palm of his hand. Tai Immortal Monarch had been subdued as well. Afterward, they witnessed Guan turning Tai Immortal Monarch into a wooden token and hanging it on his waistband, amongst other tokens that looked similar to them. They finally understood what their fate would be. The light screen in front of them began to shrink, and the consciousness of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave also began to grow dim. Just like the light screen in front of them, they were being consumed by darkness. Purple Dragonstar Monarch did not worry about his fate. He was still pondering the scene of Tai Immortal Monarch kneeling. Not only him, but the other Golden Cave immortals felt the same. Until everything submerged into darkness. Standing in front of the world gate, an Exen looked onwards, observing the celestial spirit great world restored to its original state, and feeling the vitality in the distance. Her face showed a look of pleasant surprise. She stepped forward, walking up to Guan, and her gaze fell on his eyes. Guan did not conceal the immortal emperor's eye, allowing her to observe it. Previously, only she and Tai Immortal Monarch had seen the immortal emperor's eye. Even though the 72 immortals of Golden Cave had heard the conversation between Guan and an Xian earlier, they had not seen the immortal emperor's eye nor heard the question asked by Tai Immortal Monarch before kneeling. As for Tai Immortal Monarch, Guan had ways to make him forget about the immortal emperor's eye. Apart from the path of power, Guan's greatest expertise was in the path of cause and effect. Erasing memories using the way of cause and effect was no difficult task. Master, that was not an illusion just now, was it? I saw him destroy the Great Thousand World. An Exen asked, suppressing her excitement. Guan revealed a smile, saying, what you felt was all real. Can your immortal emperor's eye restore everything? Or does it reverse time? An Xian used a respectful form of you, reflecting her emotions. Usually, she would not be impolite, but due to their familiarity, she would not address Guan so formally. This is also why the other disciples clearly sensed her favored status. Guan did not conceal anything and replied, my immortal emperor's eye can make what has vanished reappear and turn the existent into nothingness. He was also not afraid that an Xian would later reveal the mysteries of his immortal emperor's eye. His reliance was never on the immortal emperor's eye, he simply preferred to use it at the current stage. Moreover, he could enhance his immortal emperor's eye through the evolution of his lifespan. The immortal emperor's eye had already been integrated into his attribute panel. As long as he could see the entries, he could enhance it endlessly. And Xin's eyes widened with amazement as she exclaimed, that sounds so domineering. Isn't this absolute power over life and death? Her own immortal emperor's eye had infinite uses, capable of devouring power and also borrowing the power from the past and future, but essentially, it relied entirely on borrowing. Compared to her master's Immortal Emperor's Eye divine power, it seemed fancy but was not as impressive. Master, compared to your Immortal Emperor's Eye, mine is too weak. After the excitement, an Exin felt somewhat dejected, thinking she had disgraced the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Guwen raised his hand and rubbed her head, smiling. How powerful the Immortal Emperor's Eye is depends on your cultivation level. One day, you will surpass the strength of the Immortal Emperor's Eye I displayed just now. And Exin was comforted, thinking to herself that her master was truly confident, believing that he could still become stronger. If her master stood so high and was still actively getting stronger, how could she wallow in self-pity? Guwen, hearing her inner thoughts, was pleased. Indeed, she was the disciple he valued the most, always pondering her master's words. Sir the Oval Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guwen turned around, and with a sweep of his right hand along his belt, the wooden plaque transformed by Tai Immortal Monarch emitted a sphere of light that quickly flew into the depths of the cosmos. What is that? An Exian asked curiously. Guwen replied, Immortal gods cannot be completely annihilated but only suppressed. However, I can make him suffer through the torment of reincarnation, to let him experience the feeling of reversed status. From the moment Tai Immortal Monarch destroyed the celestial spirit great world, Guwen dismissed the possibility that Tai Immortal Monarch would treat Tian Hao well. Destroying the celestial spirit great world might be a way to leave a backhand to attract the attention of the celestial court, but there is also the possibility of erasing cause and effect, preventing other entities from tracking down where Tian Hao went. One may act differently based on different standpoints, but Tai Immortal Monarch had no justifiable reason to destroy the celestial spirit great world, yet he did it anyway, which displeased Guwen. Although the profound star Immortal Monarch presented a facade of righteousness, the followers of the golden extreme god sent by the profound star Immortal Monarch indeed have spread opportunities widely in the human world. As for arranging for the innate human race to cause disasters, this has similarities with the tribulations of heaven and earth. Guwen, though not pleased, could not entirely deny it. Why can't immortal gods be eradicated? An Exian asked, perplexed, her tone filled with indignation. Why should such entities be able to become immortal gods? Guwen laughed and said, there are not so many whys. There must be a force stronger than us supporting them. Become stronger, and you can change the things you cannot currently change. An Exian smiled and nodded vigorously. Afterward, Guwen led her toward the celestial spirit great world. There should be a long period of peace coming next. Guwen was contemplating whether he should enhance his Taoist techniques to increase his combat strength before attempting to cross the tribulation during his next breakthrough. He had already reached the second great realm of the Daluo Dao fruit realm. Based on the previous realms, the next one would be the final layer of the Daluo Dao fruit, which will undoubtedly be difficult to break through. While thinking, Guwen responded to Enzin's many curiosities about the previous battle. Although the battle had astonished an Exin, she completely failed to understand it. She did not know how Tai Immortal Monarch shattered the celestial spirit great world, nor how Guwen pressured Tai Immortal Monarch into kneeling. What she was most curious about was Guwen's divine power that turned people into little wooden plaques. That was not a simple transformation in the typical sense. She probed with her divine sense and found that those wooden plaques seemed to be made of common wood, showing no trace of anything unusual within. Source: Web Novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 638. The Struggle of the Celestial Army Within the Vastness of the World. An endless army of silver-armored celestial soldiers is besieging a terrifying figure far larger than any mountain in the human world. This figure, resembling a demon turtle, is coiled in a terrifying demonic chi, with more than 10 flood dragons rampaging within it, and upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that these flood dragons are the turtle's tails. The demon turtle is so colossal that the figures besieging it appear as tiny as dust. A mere twitch from it could cause a catastrophic tremor shaking the heavens and the earth. In the distance, Zhang Buku, clad in silver armor, stands shoulder to shoulder with Su Yu, who is also wearing silver armor but looking somewhat awkward compared to Zhang Buku's dignified bearing. Zhang Buku looks toward the distant battle with a face full of fear and shock. Among the silver-armored celestial soldiers participating in battle, none have a cultivation level lower than theirs. Their numbers exceed 10 million, hailing from different worlds of the Great Thousand World. Yet, the gathering of so many powerful warriors fails to make an impact on the demon turtle. This is a chaos evil demon. Such demons may not be the strongest, but it is said that the chaos harbors countless ones like it. If we can subdue this one, our celestial army might have a chance to be established. Su Yu spoke with a tone full of emotion. Zhang Buku turned to look at him, asking in surprise, with so many reserve celestial soldiers, can we really become celestial gods? Su Yu gave him a disdainful glance and said irritably, becoming a celestial god is not so simple. Only by holding our ground do we have a chance. If we are lucky enough to encounter extraordinary warriors, we could ride the winds to ascend, which is better than facing the heavenly Daos trials alone. After hearing this, Zhang Buku once again shifted his gaze towards the distant chaos evil demon. Taking a deep breath, he leaped and joined the battle, with Su Yu not lingering and following closely behind. As far as the eye can see, figures from all directions are still relentlessly charging toward the chaos evil demon, and there are always those who fall, with the vast earth strewn with blood and dismembered limbs. All those participating in this battle are either the top talents or the most powerful from various worlds. Yet, in the presence of the chaos evil demon, they seem as insignificant as insects, their spells and divine skills not even capable of dispersing the demonic chi surrounding it. At the same time, atop layers of clouds, a formidable figure overlooks it all, donned in the oppressive silver armor of the celestial court. Behind him stand two immortal gods in robes, looking down indifferently at the battle below. As immortal gods, they have witnessed countless such battles and they do not sympathize with the fallen, for anyone who has come here has done so with resolution, and even in death, they harbor no regrets. The celestial calming god slowly said, "This batch of the celestial army doesn't have many with great potential. Even if they survive this ordeal, few are likely to achieve greatness." The two immortal gods behind him silently nodded, each holding a jade disc in one hand and their other hands swiftly moving as though writing something. The news that Tai Immortal Monarch had been suppressed by Guwen did not spread, at least in the celestial spirit great world. Except for Guwen and an Exian, no one knew that Tai Immortal Monarch had been there. And after Tai Immortal Monarch's soul was cast into reincarnation, the celestial spirit great world also did not experience any significant upheavals. It wasn't until the celestial spirit god stepped out from the world gate that he stood before it, sensing something faintly, and looked at the celestial spirit great world with shock in his eyes. He could feel a trace of presence left by Tai Immortal Monarch. Tai Immortal Monarch had been here, but nothing had happened to the celestial spirit great world. What did that indicate? Search * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. His reverence for Guwen deepened. He had guessed that Guwen possessed the great power to contend with Tai Immortal Monarch, but he had not thought that this battle would end in silence. What did that indicate? There could be a vast disparity between Tai Immortal Monarch and Guwen. The celestial spirit god took a deep breath, a smile appearing on his face as he felt everything was heading in a favorable direction. He returned to his previous spot and sat down to continue his cultivation. Sending Tian Hao to the misty immortal court, he too was deeply moved. After many years, the misty immortal court remained unfathomable, and his close friend had already surpassed him, filling him with a fighting spirit. To know his talents had been acknowledged by the celestial court. Before becoming the celestial spirit god, his life was filled with nothing but cheers and praises. As the celestial spirit god closed his eyes, the gears of time in the human world began to speed up. A year passes as if a day. In the blink of an eye. Another 10,000 years have passed. The human world has changed beyond recognition, and countless living beings have come and gone, yet the faces governing heaven and earth haven't changed much. This year, as spring ended, Guwen stood at the mountaintop, facing the wind as he stood upright. An hour earlier he had used the lifespan projection feature, hoping to enhance his path of power. To him now, spending 1 trillion years of his lifespan wasn't too painful. After the consumption, he still had over 14 trillion years left. As the projection ended, a prompt appeared before his eyes, and he couldn't help but close his eyes to start feeling the insights of the path of power. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth suddenly halted, and the Tao rules began to change, causing the creatures on this land to feel suppressed. This time, Guwen didn't pass on his Tao insights within a dojo. Instead, he deliberately chose a continent with a less advanced immortal cultivation atmosphere for the transfer of his insights. As Guwen pursued enlightenment, the power of the great Tao began to pour into this mainland. Countless cultivators felt uneasy due to the change in nature's spiritual energy, but before long, they felt an inexplicable sense that made them subconsciously review the cultivation techniques they've mastered. Soon, this continent fell into silence as the influence of Guwen's pursuit of enlightenment continued to expand, reaching out towards the oceans and other continents. After a long while, Guwen's enlightenment came to an end, and he opened his eyes, then disappeared from the spot. After his departure, silhouettes streaked across the sky. These people carried the aura of saints, like enlightened ascetics, observing the mountains and rivers along the way as if in search of something. Guwen arrived in a city of the human world in one step. It was a mortal city with only a few cultivators who kept their cultivation levels hidden, unknown to others. He entered a bookshop and started to peruse the collection. His thoughts drifted to Zhang Buku of the Tai's great world. Zhang Buku had suddenly disappeared for a few thousand years, and even Guwen could not divine his karma. Guwen speculated it was related to the celestial court. Fortunately, Zhang Buku later returned unharmed to the Tai's great world, so Guwen did not think too much about it. Whenever Zhang Buku and Su Yu mentioned the celestial court, Guwen could not hear nor deduce anything. Perhaps this was why the celestial court was so mysterious. Even reaching the Daoyuo Dao fruit realm, one cannot pry into the celestial court's karma. Although Zhang Buku had returned, his will was clearly dejected, and Guwen hesitated whether to give him some guidance or not. Guwen could guess that Zhang Buku might have suffered a setback in the land of the celestial court. Most likely, he failed in competing for a celestial Dao immortal position with other outstanding figures, or lost hope and was hugely hit. On the other hand, Su Yu was unaffected and started to frolic in the human world and stopped cultivating after returning to the Tai's great world. Guwen thought about these things, but soon his attention was caught by the books in his hands. When it comes to writing, books by mortals are indeed more delightful to read. Those written by cultivators are too utilitarian and lack the delicacy in expressing human emotions. Dear customer, if you like this Yen Lao's Secret Lover, why not buy it? If you purchase the whole set, it'll even include original character illustrations drawn by the author. The bookkeeper approached enthusiastically. Guwen closed the book in his hands, put it back on the shelf, and turned to leave. Seeing this, the bookkeeper's face showed displeasure. Looking decent enough, but why only look and not spend any money? How stingy! Shopkeeper, take out all the illustrations you mentioned, I'll buy them, said Guwen, his voice drifting back, clearing the cloud from the bookkeeper's face and bringing a beaming smile. All right, dear customer, just give me a moment. Source, web novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 639. The world's #1 determination. The setting sun dipped below the horizon within the Taoist field of the beginningless. Humming a tune, Guwen walked along the mountain path, feeling rather pleased and occasionally reaching out to touch the flowers and plants along the way. After half a day of contemplation, he decided not to assist Zhang Buku, but rather to let Zhang Buku solve his own predicaments. His intention was to ensure the preservation of Zhang Buku's life. He was also curious to see how Su Yu would help Zhang Buku become one of the heavenly court immortals. Upon reaching the courtyard atop the mountain, As soon as Guan entered, the long-awaiting Celestial Scion and Tianbai approached him. Aside from them, only Shenzhen and the White Spirit Rat were in the courtyard. Master, Emperor Tianhong wishes to be disciples at the Taoist field of the beginningless. What do you think? Celestial Scion asked first. Tianbai also looked at Guan with anticipation. Early this morning, Emperor Tianhong from the Tao court arrived at the Qiankuan sect, causing a huge commotion. He proclaimed his desire to become a disciple of the beginningless, an announcement that startled the upper echelons of the Qiankuan sect, prompting them to call upon Celestial Scion and Tianbai. 20,000 years ago, Wuxia disciples emerged, saving all living beings. Although it was ultimately the supporting Tao Sword Venerable who reversed the tides of chaos, the exploits and great fame of the Wuxia disciples remained illustrious. These disciples, with realms not considered top-tier during their time, wielded mysterious Tao treasures and were undefeated, leaving a profound impression on all the major sects of the world. The location of the beginningless was easy to speculate, so it was not surprising that the Tao court disciples managed to find the Qiankuan sect. However, Emperor Tianhong, the most illustrious figure post-catastrophe of the innate human race, expressing a desire to join the beginningless, caused a tremor throughout the Qiankuan sect. The Qiankuan sect was itself established with the support of the beginningless, so they held it in good esteem, feeling that if a personage like Emperor Tianhong were to switch his allegiance to the beginningless, it would bode well for them, perhaps even securing him as a connection for their future. Guan replied offhandedly, "Do not accept him, and also inform everyone under the heavens that the beginningless does not recruit disciples. Those fated will join the beginningless naturally." Even if Emperor Tianhong were not a pawn of the Tai Immortal monarch, he still would not accept him. He only takes disciples based on a connection of fate. As for talent, it is secondary. The world is vast, brimming with countless geniuses. Though the Blood Prison Great Saint is currently the undisputed top disciple in the dojo, there are many across the world whose talent surpasses his. In this new era, every so often, an extraordinary genius carrying the destiny of heaven and earth is born, and ordinary humans with lifespans reaching the limit of 9,999 years can be found everywhere. On his occasional travels, Guan has encountered such individuals with the ultimate lifespan, merely giving them a second glance without the inclination to take disciples. Master, Emperor Tianhong's fame is unparalleled, and with Tianhao gone, no one in the world can compare to him. If we accept him, it will surely enhance the renown of our beginningless. If you do not wish to teach him personally, you can let us accept him as disciples. Celestial Scion continued, having encountered increasingly more fame and fortune since managing Qiankuan sect on behalf of an Xian, which also caused a shift in their thoughts. They wanted the beginningless to be renowned across the world, to become the preeminent Holy Land. They believed that with Guan, the beginningless was incomparable to any Tao court. Circling around them, Guan walked towards his own room, while saying, "I do not seek fame. If you wish to chase after vanity, you are free to go out and establish your own sect in the future." Hearing this, Celestial Scion and Tianbai looked at each other. They dared not persuade Guan any further. In front of the artifact refining cauldron, Shenzhen glanced at them and shook her head slightly, but said nothing. Even the disciples within the Taoist field of the beginningless were starting to pursue fame and fortune. It seemed the world was likely to become embroiled in conflict once again. Thinking this, Shenzhen, who has long contemplated the path of cause and effect, gained deeper insights into the movement of destiny in the world. The world has been reshaped for nearly 100,000 years, besides the earlier calamities wrought by the innate human race in the human world. A peaceful backdrop has always prevailed. However, human hearts are restless, and disputes will inevitably arise. But even if chaos engulfs the world, what concern is it of hers? Shenzhen withdrew her thoughts and continued her contemplation of the great Tao. After staying in place for a while, Celestial Scion and Tianbai went to the Qiankuan sect to reject Emperor Tianhong. They waited until night fell. The two women returned, walking through the forest. They stopped before a stream. Celestial Scion turned her head, her peripheral vision glancing back, and said, "Please return. Further ahead is unauthorized entry into Wuxia." A figure emerged from the deep woods, an attractive man dressed in blue with an extraordinary demeanor, unable to hide the pride between his eyebrows. He was none other than the current first pride of Dao Court, Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong looked at the two women and said, "I will not force my way into Wuxia. I just want to prove my determination to the supporting Dao Sword Venerable." Celestial Cyan and Tianbai crossed the stream and then turned to face Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong approached the stream, lifted his robe, and knelt on the spot. Seeing this, a glimmer of joy passed through the eyes of the two women. Although they had refused Emperor Tianhong, deep down they still hoped that Wuxia could have such an exceptional talent like him, so that the name of Wuxia would become even more widespread. They did not dare to defy Guan, and could only hope that Emperor Tianhong could sway Guan with his own efforts. Tianbai warned, "If you cross this river without permission, you may not only forfeit your chance of entering Wuxia but also face irrecoverable doom." Emperor Tianhong, kneeling before the river, puffed out his chest and raised his head, his expression resolute. Despite no reply, he had already revealed his determination. Celestial Cyan and Tianbai turned and left, disappearing into the night. Beneath the night sky, the mountains and forests were tranquil, with occasional insects chirping, calming Emperor Tianhong's heart. Even though he was currently regarded as the foremost prodigy in the world, Emperor Tianhong felt no humiliation as this was his choice. Memories from thousands of years ago surfaced in his mind. He had wandered the world, visiting a place known as the Tai Tsong continent. Hearing that the supreme sect had once been blessed by an immortal, he went there to explore. It was not until he stepped onto the heaven-repairing platform and grasped the axe that he knew. After a brief moment of astonishment, he firmed up a thought in his mind. He must acquire this legacy. Unable to lift the heaven-splitting axe, he could only pursue the supporting Dao Sword Venerable. He returned to the Dao Court and, using the court's power, eventually discovered that the Venerable was hidden within the 9-spirit continent. Sir, the novel Fire. Net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. To break away from the Dao Court, he did not immediately head to the 9-spirit continent. Instead, he spent thousands of years fervently completing Dao Court tasks as his reply to the Dao Court. His will also attracted the attention of the master of the Dao Court, Yuan Songzi, who after understanding his determination, also expressed support. Yuan Songzi knew better than Emperor Tianhong the strength of the supporting Dao Sword Venerable. In Yuan Songzi's eyes, following the Venerable for cultivation, Emperor Tianhong would be able to display even greater talent and truly surpass Tianhao. With the support of his sect, Emperor Tianhong felt lighter about this journey. He had anticipated hitting a wall, so he was not in a hurry. For him now, waiting was blissful, his heart filled with endless anticipation. He was delighted throughout this entire night. Days passed by. Celestial Cyan, Tianbai, and White Spirit Rat occasionally passed by him, but he remained unmoved, kneeling before the river. After kneeling for 10 years, his state of mind was still without ripples. However, when he had knelt for hundreds of years and still had not seen the supporting Dao Sword Venerable, a sense of panic finally began to emerge in his heart. He had abandoned everything and came with determination. If he couldn't enter as a disciple under the supporting Dao Sword Venerable, how would he face the Dao Court? How would he establish himself in this world? A myriad of thoughts began to invade Emperor Tianhong's mind, his hands clenching his knees, exerting a slight force. Source: Web Novel. Com, updated on Novlove. Com if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 640. Kneeling for 10,000 years. Emperor Tianhong's heart was in turmoil. Although everything in his eyes had not changed with the passage of 100 years, he felt a tremendous malice. He couldn't imagine the situation he would face returning to the Dao Court after failing to become a disciple, let alone the Dao Court. When he came to the Qianquan sect, how many disciples of the Qianquan sect watched him? The more he thought about it, the more panicked he became, even developing a sense of rage in his heart. This anger was so confused even he couldn't tell whom it was directed at. Hate the supporting Dao Sword Venerable? But supporting Dao Sword Venerable had no reason or obligation to take him in. If anyone was to blame, it was his own insufficient talent. The supporting Dao Sword Venerable had taken Tian Hao as a disciple, and Tian Hao was the champion of his era before him. Since before his birth, Tian Hao had vanished, so there were always people who believed he was not the strongest champion of all time because he never defeated Tian Hao. After the tribulation of the innate human race, everyone knew that Tian Hao was a disciple of the supporting Dao Sword Venerable, which made Tian Hao even more legendary. When Tian Hao disappeared, people liked to use him to suppress the geniuses of the world. In fact, while Tian Hao was alive, he also endured the same doubts Emperor Tianhong faces today. But regardless, without defeating Tian Hao, Emperor Tianhong could not truly consider himself the greatest champion through the ages. Emperor Tianhong's thoughts ran wild uncontrollably. Even though reason told him that 100 years was nothing, he couldn't help but dwell on it. Kneeling by the small river, as he gazed at his own reflection on the water's surface, Emperor Tianhong suddenly felt very vulnerable and truly unworthy of the title of the world's #1 champion. It was at that moment he saw a figure emerging from the depths of the forest on the opposite side. As he made out the person's face, a confused expression appeared on his own. It was neither Celestial Xian nor Tian Bai. He had never seen this woman before. The newcomer was an Xian. An Xian, in her Xian dress with delicate makeup, had cool and distant eyes and brows, resembling a fairy living reclusively in the mountains. Her aura, untainted by the mundane world, caused Emperor Tianhong's gaze to shift. An Xian saw Emperor Tianhong, her expression as cold as ever. She walked to the front of the river and stopped. Her gaze landed on Emperor Tianhong, her eyes without a ripple of emotion. "I heard you are the Dao Court's #1 talent and the strongest one in the world today. We are both divine immortals of wondrous Dharma. How about we spar?" An Xian spoke, her tone allowing no refusal. Emperor Tianhong frowned and asked, "May I ask if fellow Taoist is a Wuxia disciple?" An Xian answered, "I am considered the foremost disciple of Wuxia. If you defeat me, you will be eligible to join Wuxia." Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianhong's eyes blazed with a fierce light. Having knelt and waited for 100 years, his mood was already irritable. With Nzin's sudden approach, it seemed like the very opportunity he had been yearning for. He wanted to show the Sword Venerable his talent. Emperor Tianhong stood up, with mud and grass falling from his legs. His aura changed abruptly. The wild wind howled, causing the surrounding trees to shake violently. "Where shall we spar?" Emperor Tianhong asked, his intense gaze domineering, his hair dancing wildly like flames. And Nzin's eyes flickered with purple light. She replied indifferently, "No need to go elsewhere, right here will do. It will be over quickly." Xianxia the Novel Fire. Net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Emperor Tianhong felt humiliated, his robe began to billow, a terrifying aura emanated from within him. Meanwhile, inside an inn belonging to the Qianquan sect, Guan was drinking with his friends who enjoyed meat and wine, when suddenly they felt a terrifying aura coming from afar. This wine and meat friend named Xianxia exclaimed in shock and suspicion, "Could it be someone is causing trouble within the sect?" Although the Qianquan sect of today is far from comparing to the Dao Court, in the eyes of the rank-and-file disciples, the Qianquan sect is an authentic and major power, dominating a region. Whoever dares to cause trouble within the Qianquan sect is truly seeking death. Guan laughed and said, "Since it's happening within the sect, why should we worry? Let's keep drinking and continue talking about Yi Lang's affairs." Yi Lang, the offspring of the sect hierarch Yi Qingshan, may not be considered outstanding in terms of talent within the Yi family, but with his free-spirited and unrestrained character, he always manages to do things that become the subject of much gossip. Xianxia thought that Gu An's words made sense, so he resumed recounting the tales of Yi Lang's amorous exploits. The terrifying aura appeared abruptly and dissipated just as quickly. The entire process took less than 10 breaths, which led to much speculation among the disciples of the Qianquan sect in various cities. In the forest, Emperor Tianhong was half kneeling in front of a river, one hand propped against his knee, the other dangling naturally, as he laboriously raised his head to look up, his face covered in cold sweat and bloodshot eyes. An Exen stood on the opposite side of the river, about a zhang away from him, her purple pupils gradually retracting their unusual shimmer. Compared to Emperor Tianhong's face full of shock and fear, Inzin's expression remained indifferent. How is this possible? What divine skill was that just now? Emperor Tianhong ground his teeth and asked. He couldn't accept his own crushing defeat, especially since it was at the hands of someone in the same realm. An Exine replied, "This is a divine skill taught to me by my master. You don't need to feel sad about it. Although we are in the same realm, I reached this realm long before you were born. Your talent is still higher than mine, but it's not so simple to get accepted into Wuxia." Having said this, she stepped forward and flickered past Emperor Tianhong, heading toward the Chengkuan sect. Emperor Tianhong looked down and asked through clenched teeth, "Did the Sword Venerable send you here?" "He doesn't have that kind of leisure time. I just sensed that your Tao heart was wavering. It's only been a century, yet you can't hold on, which disappoints those in the dojo who have expectations for you. However, retreating is also not a problem. There are many paths in the world, and you don't necessarily have to enter Wuxia." An Exen didn't stop her steps, her figure gradually disappearing into the distance. Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianhong's pupils dilated, and a color of shame surged in his heart. Indeed, it's only been a century. What is a century to cultivators? Memories of the previous battle flashed through Emperor Tianhong's mind, and his eyes became fervent. Being such formidable Wuxia disciples serves to prove the profound heritage of Wuxia. Even if it takes 1,000 years, or 10,000 years, he must enter Wuxia. Emperor Tianhong straightened his spine and knelt once more. This time, he swept away his previous impatience, and his gaze returned to the steadfastness of when he had first arrived. A gentle breeze passed by, lifting the hair beside his ears. Amidst the sound of the wind, he seemed to hear the supporting Tao Sword Venerable calling out to him. Calling out the word, "disciple." Emperor Tianhong's lips curved upwards, for Inzin's strength made him long for Wuxia all the more. Years went by quickly. When tens of thousands of years had once again passed, the forest where Emperor Tianhong was located seemed unchanged, as if secluded from the world, unaffected by the rules of heaven and earth. There was no alteration in Emperor Tianhong's attire, but his hair had grown longer, and his beard reached the ground. He kept his eyes closed, his whole being radiating an aura of profound mystery. Not far off, on a tree branch, Guan and an Exen stood side by side, observing Emperor Tianhong. An Exen spoke up, "Master, if you truly do not wish to accept him, shall I drive him away?" Emperor Tianhong's decade-long kneeling did not only move her. Other disciples of the dojo also became aware of this man's determination and were touched by it. As the #1 prodigy of the world, he has managed to patiently kneel in this place for tens of thousands of years, which is unimaginable how resolute his determination is. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 641 Celestial Plan, Chaos Grudge Luo, no need, I didn't say I'd definitely not take him as a disciple. Guan looked down at Emperor Tianhong and replied softly. The reasons he did not take Emperor Tianhong as a disciple were, firstly, he did not favor him, and secondly, Emperor Tianhong was a reincarnation of an immortal god, with the consequences of Tai immortal monarch's karma trailing behind. However, reincarnation creates a new personality. Judging from Emperor Tianhong's inner voice, he genuinely wished to take Guan as his master. The reason why Guan was hesitating was because he wanted to wait until he achieved his own breakthrough before accepting him, using the opportunity to further temper Emperor Tianhong. An Exen remarked with emotion, if it were Tianhong kneeling, managing to kneel for 100 years would be already quite good. Setting aside talent, she felt that even she herself wouldn't be able to kneel for 10,000 years. Guan's eyes did not show any change as he gazed at Emperor Tianhong, probing into his future. Standing near Emperor Tianhong, he still did not notice the two of them. After kneeling for 10,000 years, Emperor Tianhong had entered a state of self-forgetfulness. He was contemplating the natural laws of heaven and earth, thus forgetting the torment of time. "By the way, Master, how is Tianhao faring these days?" An Xian turned to Guan and asked curiously. She believed her master could see the situation of the misty immortal court. Guan smiled and said, "Mixed blessings, but in any case, he won't die." Hearing this, an Xian was completely relieved, and then she began to talk about the affairs of the world. Over the years, she occasionally replaced Celestial Cyan and Tianbai in dealings with the Qinkuan sect. After all, she couldn't let the two always be busy. She also needed time to relax. The current world could be said to be in the same state every millennium, with heroes coming forth in great numbers. The ruling power of the Dao court was weakening, mainly due to the rising number of forces. The Dao court, upholding the Dao, could only watch as other powers grew stronger. With more and more powerful forces emerging, the strife in the world would naturally increase. However, compared to the calamity brought by outer heaven, the conflicts within the world seemed trivial. An Xian talked about a prodigy that had risen in the Dao court in the recent 10,000 years. It was undeniable that the Dao court had a profound foundation. Just as Emperor Tianhong had left for 10,000 years, another number one prodigy emerged, and now people were using Emperor Tianhong to suppress this prodigy. Without initiating a war, it seems that only creating momentum can maintain the Dao court's absolute ruling position, said an Xian in a teasing tone. Guan did not comment on the Dao court. He had a deeper understanding of it than an Xian did, as he often stayed at the Dao court to accompany Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan had good talent, and with the support from Guan's Dao intent, she had always been one of the top prodigies of the Dao court. However, because she disliked public attention, the title of the number one prodigy never fell upon her. Recently, the Dao court was preparing to initiate the Celestial Plan, aiming to search for other great thousand worlds. Having no intention to suppress the sects within the world, they sought to pursue stronger powers and greater resources. Such ambitions filled most of the upper echelons with pride, feeling that they possessed a higher vision than the world's sects, embodying the magnanimity of the world's common lord. Guan thought the Dao court's idea was quite good, and he was ready to ask the celestial spirit god to help facilitate it. Born in the celestial spirit great world, he also wanted to see different developments from the past emerge there. If every era was headed towards destruction, then Guan's effort in saving all living beings would lose its purpose. His decision was not to let the Dao court grow unbridled, but he felt that cultivators should always climb higher and chase after the great Dao. The existence of the World Gate seemed more like a restraint on the development of cultivators. No matter how one looked at it, the World Gate did not seem like a natural phenomenon. At this moment, Guan was considering whether or not to allow the disciples of his dojo to venture out. He had his disciples in seclusion all year round in order to accumulate their strength, not to limit their freedom. His greatest concern was Qin Chuan. When Xiao Chuan was first reincarnated as Qin Chuan, he encountered a mysterious karmic force that cursed him, nearly causing the death of his parents. When the innate human race caused trouble, Qin Chuan went out for experiences and did not suffer from the curse again, which is why Guan considered letting him go out as well. After much deliberation, Guan decided to leave the choice to Qin Chuan. "Let's go for a walk outside." Having said this, Guan jumped down, followed closely by an Xian. They passed by Emperor Tianhong, with Guan even giving his shoulder a light pat. Emperor Tianhong seemed to sense something, opened his eyes, but saw nothing. He thought it was just a breeze. Perhaps it was because he had knelt for such a long time that he didn't rush to enter Wuxia. He felt that his current state was conducive to enlightenment. The path of power, strange, how did I come to comprehend such a forceful great Tao? Emperor Tianhong muttered to himself, not thinking it was because his talent was too strong. He had never felt like this in the Dao court before. He had a realization in his heart. Even though the supporting Dao Sword Venerable had not shown himself, with an Xian probing him, it was impossible for the Sword Venerable to not be aware of him. Perhaps his current insights were a gift from the supporting Dao Sword Venerable. Emperor Tianhong was not surprised, for even without such a gift he would persist. The greatest benefit of kneeling for 10,000 years was that he had shed the pressure brought on by being called the foremost of the proud celestials. Vain titles are but passing clouds. He is Emperor Tianhong. He wanted to find the true meaning of his existence. Above the boundless sea of clouds, an enormous golden furnace floated. On its surface were engraved various divine beast patterns and majestic mountains and rivers, and crowning it were some towering peaks, exuding a grand presence. The yellow-robed Taoist, who had played Go with Tai Immortal Monarch earlier, stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the world inside the furnace. The furnace interior was a world unto itself with mountains and rivers, and even fierce beasts fighting. The robust Tao spiritual qi would rush up like the wind from time to time. The yellow-robed Taoist furrowed his brows, deep in thought. Right at that moment, a golden ring of light appeared beside him, quickly expanding, and a figure stepped out from within. The newcomer was the celestial calming god. The leader of the celestial army, whom Zhang Buku and Suyu had pledged allegiance to, was the celestial calming god. The celestial calming god raised his hand in salute and said, "Immortal monarch, anomalies from chaos are emerging in the 3,000 great worlds, rapidly dispersing to each of the great 1,000 worlds. One of these anomalies has even come to trial under my command. This is not good." Sar the Nelfire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The one known as Huang Feng Immortal Monarch, the yellow-robed Taoist, tilted his head to look at him and asked, "Anomalies from chaos? Which anomaly?" The celestial calming god responded, "It should be Chaos Grudge Luo. I have captured immense resentment from the soul's depths of that infiltrator. If left unchecked and allowed to spread rapidly, it will become a great calamity." Grudge Luo? The eyes of Huang Feng Immortal Monarch flickered, sinking into contemplation. The celestial calming god stopped speaking, waiting for Huang Feng Immortal Monarch's command. After a long while, Huang Feng Immortal Monarch spoke, "Do not act rashly for now. Perhaps Grudge Luo's existence is linked to bigger karma and causality." The celestial calming god frowned, hesitated for a moment, and said, "If left unchecked, many living beings will die. If we don't eradicate the roots of this disaster along with it, even more living beings will die." The words of Huang Feng Immortal Monarch caused the celestial calming god's frown to deepen. He gave Huang Feng Immortal Monarch a long look, no longer objecting. Huang Feng Immortal Monarch still stared into the world within the golden furnace and said, "Since you're here, take this trip for me. Go to Profound Star Immortal Monarch and deliver this item to him." With that, he lifted his right hand, and a piece of Jin Yu enveloped by billowing purple qi appeared in his palm, swiftly flying towards the celestial calming god. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 642 True Immortal's Appearance in the Blink of an Eye. 1,000 years have passed. In the Tao Court, within Xiaolan's Grotto Heaven, Guwen and Xiaolan were sitting in a small pavilion, drinking and chatting. Xiaolan was talking about the celestial plan she had just learned about, and she wanted to venture into the outer heaven. Guwen listened attentively, but his thoughts were on his own lifespan. His lifespan had accumulated to over 2 trillion years, and currently he gains about 50 million years annually, even without expanding Medicine Valley. "Brother Gu, do you think I should join the celestial plan?" Xiaolan asked hesitantly. She wanted to join, to experience a broader world and have the chance for greater opportunities, but she couldn't take Guwen with her and didn't know how many years it would take before she could return. Guwen smiled and said, "If you want to go, then go. If you're worried about me, there's no need. Just think about it, you often seclude yourself for cultivation, and I still live well. I have many friends in the Tao Court, I am not alone. Go ahead and venture, I will wait for you here to return." Upon hearing this, Xiaolan's face lit up with a smile, as Brother Gu was always so supportive of her. Thinking about it, Guwen managed to stay in the Tao Court for tens of thousands of years without any issue, which proves his capability in handling affairs. She didn't have such a big influence in the Tao Court, Even peerless prodigies and great figures occasionally find themselves in trouble. Xiaolan continued, "My master also wants me to advance, to strive for the top treatment as the first prodigy in the Dao court." After Emperor Tianhong left, although the Dao court promoted another unparalleled prodigy, there's a clear gap compared to Emperor Tianhong. My master said I have a chance to take the title of the top prodigy, and she will mobilize all her connections to build momentum for me. Guwen listened carefully. Where there are people, there are rivalries like those of the martial world, especially in a major power like the Dao court, where the internal power struggles are extremely fierce. Behind each prized prodigy, there are numerous cultivators striving to support them. The number of cultivators in the Dao court is countless. Many are unknown geniuses or powerhouses. The reason for their obscurity is due to lack of promotion. Talking about Emperor Tianhong, Xiaolan sighed, "I have seen Emperor Tianhong. He truly had an imposing presence, making one feel at first sight that he could make a name for himself in the world. The Dao court also treated him very well, giving him the best resources. Yet he chose to go and apprentice under the supporting Dao Sword Venerable. I heard that the supporting Dao Sword Venerable has repeatedly saved the world, truly a true immortal of the human world, but how can Wuxia compare to the Dao court?" Guwen laughed. Maybe what he's pursuing is a stronger Taoist technique. Cultivation lies in the individual. Although the Wuxi's disciples are famous for a while, their cultivation level is not far superior to the contemporary talents. Mainly they rely on the Dao treasures of the beginning list to fight, which shows the cultivation resources Wuxia can provide are not top-notch. After all, they reside hidden in a small corner of the world. Xiaolan shook her head, saying she didn't know much about the supporting Dao Sword Venerable, but in her view, the Dao court is the strongest sect. After all, she belongs to the Dao court. Guwen found her questioning of Wuxia interesting and added, "Anyway, this is your opportunity. The road to immortal cultivation is extremely long, and everyone has their choices. You once made a decision that others around you didn't understand, which was to always take me with you." Xiaolan blinked and said, "That's different." During the conversation, she moved closer to Guwen, tightly hugging his arm. "If something happens to Brother Gu one day, and I need to give up my cultivation, I will not hesitate." "Tsk, aren't you cursing me?" "Hey, I am expressing my true feelings here. Why aren't you moved?" "I do not hope for that day to come, and I will not let you face such a choice." Guwen raised his hand and wrapped it around Xiaolan's waist, speaking softly. Xiaolan feels very happy in this life, now without any worries in her heart, something Guwen is pleased to see and will do his best to maintain. Unlike dealing because she was his junior sister, Guwen accompanied her in person. The mature medicinal herbs could afford a delay of a month. After Xiaolan left Grotto Heaven, Guwen then went to other medicine valleys to start collecting medicinal herbs. As Xiaolan began to pursue the higher great Tao of heaven and earth, Guwen felt that he also needed to step up and improve the lifespan and income of each medicine valley. Xiaolan followed the Dao court and flew in the void for several years before finally arriving at the legendary World Gate. There were hundreds of people on this journey. Like her, there were 20 geniuses in total. The others were great cultivators of the Dao court, all with cultivation levels above the Zizai immortal realm, and leading them was Yuan Songzi, the master of the Dao court. Yuan Songzi performed the cloud ascending technique, carrying everyone as they flew together. CTH Nefire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Above the clouds, Xiaolan gazed far into the distance at the World Gate, utterly astonished by it. Even though she was a divine immortal of wondrous Dharma, she instinctively felt overwhelmed. The majestic aura of the great Tao made her breath quicken. It was not just her, the other cultivators felt the same. Except for Yuan Songzi, it was the first time for everyone else to see the World Gate. They quickly landed on the square in front of the World Gate. Yuan Songzi walked briskly forward and bowed to the celestial spirit god in front of him. Everyone's gaze fell on the celestial spirit god who was shrouded in the celestial Tao immortal light, rendering his true appearance inscrutable. Is this the true form of an immortal god? Xiaolan marveled inwardly, feeling somewhat regretful. Such a majestic celestial gate, such formidable immortal gods, and Brother Gu could not see it. Truly a great regret in life. In the human world, 99% of cultivators spend their entire lives unable to witness the form of an immortal. The celestial spirit god did not speak, but the world gate behind him began to tremble, and strong light from the heavenly Tao burst forth. Everyone pass by the celestial god in turn and pay respects. Follow me through the gate. Yuan Songzi spoke as he turned back, then walked towards the intense light inside the world gate. The others followed closely, each person's presence affecting the celestial spirit god as they approached. When it was Xiaolan's turn, she also bowed, but whether it was an illusion or not, she felt the celestial spirit god's form seemed to change, but she didn't dare to look closely and quickly moved away. After everyone from the Tao court had vanished into the world gate, the celestial spirit god opened his eyes, the celestial Tao immortal light dispersed, and he murmured with a frown, "Strange, why did that girl make my heart flutter?" Could it be? The celestial spirit god suddenly guessed a possibility, his expression turning peculiar. He raised his eyes to look towards the celestial spirit great world, his gaze landing beside the Qiankuan sect. He couldn't probe Wuxia, but he could see Emperor Tianhong's kneeling figure. He could also sense that Emperor Tianhong was a reincarnation of an immortal god, so he was curious about how Guan would treat Emperor Tianhong. His gaze then shifted to the human world, but unfortunately, no matter how he searched, he could not find the reincarnated form of Tai Immortal Monarch. And he did not know where Tai Immortal Monarch was suffering. As it happens, this is already the second immortal god to descend and suffer. Will there be more immortal gods reincarnated and suffering in the celestial spirit great world due to offending Guan? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 643, Zhao Russian, the struggle of the Taoist emperor. The sunlight, filtering through the gaps in the leaves, shone onto the river, creating a golden phosphorescence. Emperor Tianhong was still kneeling by the river, his beard touching the ground, knees deep in the mud, his eyes closed, his black hair spilling out. He seemed to merge with the forest, his breath natural. Thousands of years have passed since Xiaolan left, and Emperor Tianhong has been kneeling there for over 21,000 years. Footsteps approached from behind, and a man dressed in black appeared. He was handsome, with his black hair coiled up under a headpiece, a sword and a gourd hanging at his waist. He was like an unsheathed treasure sword, impossible to restrain. The legendary foremost pride of the world, Emperor Tianhong, nurtured by the Tao court to be the Taoist emperor, yet kneeling here unable to rise. It seems the supporting Tao sword venerable holds you in low regard. Do you have any regrets? The man in black stopped, his voice cold as he stared at Emperor Tianhong's back. Without opening his eyes, Emperor Tianhong asked softly, "Who are you?" His voice was slightly hoarse, as if he hadn't spoken in a long time. "Zhao Russian, I too am known as the foremost pride of the world," the man in black answered coldly. Emperor Tianhong remained silent. Zhao Russian continued, "You might not recognize me, but I have seen you. When I first entered the Tao court with no prominent talents, I saw you returning from slaying demons, and the entire city's disciples shouting your name. You were who I and all disciples aspired to become." Listening to him, Emperor Tianhong still did not utter a sound. "You left the Tao court, making me who I am today. I received substantial support from the Tao court, becoming the new foremost pride of the world, sweeping through peers of my realm. I fought across the land for 1,000 years without rest. Yet many compare me to you, saying I have not defeated you, and do not deserve the title of the foremost in the world." As Zhao Russian spoke, he paused, his gaze sharpening. "So, you came to challenge me?" Emperor Tianhong asked, still not rising, clearly unworried about Zhao Russian launching a surprise attack. "Actually, in my heart, I also feel inferior to you," Zhao Russian stated calmly, taking a step forward as he continued. "Now I too follow the path of pursuing the Taoist emperor, which is the legacy left by the Ting master before his departure. He said both you and I are qualified to achieve the Taoist emperor, to lead the Tao court to unprecedented heights. Come back, Since Wuxia looks down on you, why endure humiliation here? Do you know your deeds have spread across the world, and everyone knows the unparalleled pride cultivated by the Dao court kneels in front of Wuxia sect? Do you realize how much criticism the court has faced? Gradually, Emperor Tianhong opened his eyes, his gaze still full of vitality, unaffected by the passage of time. I am no longer a disciple of the Dao court. Please return, Emperor Tianhong replied softly. He looked across the river, his gaze shifting left and right, as if searching for something. Zhao Rushan furrowed his brows, his right hand resting on the sword scabbard at his waist. Junior, this is not a place for you to act recklessly. A clear, cold voice came from ahead, startling Zhao Rushan to look up, only to see two figures walking out from the depths of the forest across the river. It was an Xian and Qin Chuan. Seeing an Xian, Emperor Tianhong's gaze turned somewhat complicated. He couldn't forget that crushing defeat. He still thinks about what exactly those eyes looked like. Chen Chuan followed by Nzin's side, eyeing Zhao Rushan with curiosity, filled with an unsettling feeling from the sword qi he sensed on Zhao Rushan. Zhao Rushan, looking at an Xian, similarly felt shocked. An Xian gave him an unfathomably profound feeling, particularly when meeting Nzin's gaze, which made him tremble with fear, a feeling he had never experienced, even when facing beings above the Zizai immortal realm. Not to be provoked. This was Zhao Rushan's immediate feeling. May I ask for the senior's name? Zhao Rushan raised his hand in salute, asking courteously. An Xian answered calmly, Wuxia, an Xian, please leave. Zhao Rushan raised an eyebrow. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly felt a chill climbing up his spine, startling him. After hesitating for a moment, he chose to salute and leave. Although unclear why an Xian held hostility towards him, he also feared dying here. Zhao Rushan's presence quickly faded, while an Xian and Chen Chuan approached the river, facing Emperor Tianhong across the stream. Emperor Tianhong looked at an Xian, still not speaking, his gaze remaining calm. An Xian spoke, he wants to kill you. Is that so? Emperor Tianhong asked in surprise, thinking that Zhao Rushan seemed more like trying to provoke him into returning through reverse psychology. An Xian continued, and he can do it. Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianhong's brows immediately furrowed. He could feel that Zhao Rushan had reached the divine immortal of wondrous Dharma and had caught up with him in Cultivation realm, but this was also because he had been kneeling for 20,000 years. Even at the same realm, he didn't believe he would lose to anyone other than an Xian. Chen Chuan was also surprised, not expecting Zhao Rushan to be so formidable. An Xian looked at Chen Chuan and said, you go ahead first. Chen Chuan nodded, then disappeared into thin air from where he stood. Emperor Tianhong wasn't very curious about Chen Chuan. He sensed that an Xian had something to say to him, which made ripples arose in his heart. An Xian stared at Emperor Tianhong and said, that person will be your nemesis. Both of you will become Taoist emperors and will stir a world-shaking conflict in the human world. Didn't you just say he could kill me? If I weren't here, wouldn't I already be dead by his hands? How could I become his nemesis? Emperor Tianhong curiously asked. You will die, but you will rise again in reincarnation and contend with him lifetime after lifetime. An Xian spoke in a very calm tone, as if mentioning a trivial matter, leaving Emperor Tianhong silent. He couldn't help but ask, can you see my fate? Not me. And Zin's answer caused Emperor Tianhong's expression to change for the first time, stirring his long calm heart. Sword Venerable, an Xian continued, keep kneeling for now. Master can't accept you temporarily, and I don't know the reason, but perhaps this is part of cultivation. Over the years, you should have felt your Dao practice growing. Emperor Tianhong showed a smile. Indeed, although my cultivation level hasn't increased, my understanding of the great Dao is growing rapidly. This must be the blessing of the Sword Venerable. This was also the reason he had been kneeling for more than 20,000 years without feeling tired. He had seen hope, and even if he had to kneel for another 100,000 years, he wouldn't feel it was hard. An Xian stopped talking, flashed beside Emperor Tianhong, and continued walking forward. Emperor Tianhong turned his head towards her and asked, Sister, where are you going? I have my matters to attend to. An XN casually replied, a slight smile curving upon her lips, feeling that Emperor Tianhong was very perceptive. Emperor Tianhong pressed further, will Zhao Russian bring good or bad results to the Dao court? Destiny is always changing. Knowing the future in advance would only become an obstacle for you. Before the words were even fully said, an XN had already disappeared into the depths of the forest. Emperor Tianhong turned back, looking at the river surface, deep in thought. Taoist Emperor? He had heard from Yuan Songzi before that the prodigies of the 3,000 great worlds were all chasing after becoming Taoist emperors, but the celestial spirit great world temporarily had no opportunity to achieve that status. Yuan Songzi had told him to prepare well. According to what an Xian revealed about the future, becoming a Taoist emperor seems to be the crux of future world conflicts. This implies Yuan Songzi will succeed. To become a Taoist emperor, it's necessary to open the pathway to the path of the great Tao for the celestial spirit great world. Emperor Tianhong took a deep breath, clearing his distractions. Just how formidable a Taoist emperor is, he wasn't sure, but the path of power he was currently comprehending was truly strong. Even though his cultivation level had not increased, he could feel his mana undergoing transformation, becoming several times stronger compared to before he knelt. Just, would such a him also be killed by Zhao Russian? Emperor Tianhong noted Zhao Russian's name, looking forward to their future confrontation. Sir, the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 644. Bizarre invasion for Zhao Russian, seeking an audience with Emperor Tianhong is a trivial matter. Ever since Zhao Russian's descent into the world, Emperor Tianhong's destiny has changed. Although Emperor Tianhong will ultimately defeat Zhao Russian, he will face numerous hardships and will need many lifetimes to accomplish this victory. Sitting by the lake, playing his zither, Gu and his thoughts drifted with the cause and effect tied to Zhao Russian. Zhao Russian is not the reincarnation of an immortal god, but his destiny pattern is extremely strong. He is destined to reach the pinnacle of the celestial spirit great world, and even bring catastrophe upon heaven and earth. By defeating him, Emperor Tianhong will also ascend to immortality. It is unclear whether Zhao Russian is a product of heaven and earth or a scheme by the immortal gods. If it's the latter, it should have nothing to do with Tai Immortal Monarch. Guan is unable to see through the celestial Dao destiny linked to Tai Immortal Monarch, but he can sense its existence. Perhaps there are other immortal gods eyeing the celestial spirit great world, fortunate that they do not plan to descend in person. While playing the zither, Guan focused his attention on Shaolan. The Dao court, with its disciples, has been on the path of the great Dao for 10,000 years. This journey, fraught with countless hardships, has reduced their number to less than a third of the original. If not for Guan's repeated interventions, they would have perished within the first 100 years of setting foot on the path of the great Dao. The path of the great Dao has no absolute order, only chaos and slaughter. There, no one speaks of righteousness, for every being on this path is here for the sake of an era. Under the guidance of Yuan Songzi, Shaolan has embarked on the path to chase after the title of Taoist Emperor. To become a Taoist Emperor, one must not only comprehend the Tao rules but also defeat peers and higher-level adversaries on the path of the great Tao, constantly seizing destiny to strengthen oneself. Each Taoist Emperor has reached the summit through a series of life-and-death battles, and this is why Taoist Emperors can sweep through all beings at every realm level. With her innate talents, combined with being enveloped in Guan's Tao intent over the years, Shaolan is very familiar with the Tao rules. The clueless Yuan Songzi even thinks that Shaolan possesses a Tao comprehension stronger than that of Emperor Tianhong and Zhao Russian. Therefore, he has made a last-minute decision to exhaust all efforts to help Shaolan become the first Taoist Emperor of the Tao court. CTH Nefire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As a Taoist Emperor, Shaolan will inevitably be involved in the struggle between Zhao Russian and Emperor Tianhong. Yet, because she is on the path of the great Tao, her influence does not reach the celestial spirit great world for the time being, thus the fate of that world remains unchanged. The path of obsession, the great Tao of thoughts. Guwen murmured to himself, feeling surprised. Initially, he thought that Xiaolan, who cultivated the innate reincarnation skill, would follow the path of reincarnation or the path of soul, or even the path of cause and effect, as he often used it to guide her cultivation. It seems no matter which path one followed before, once one aspires to compete for the title of Taoist Emperor, the great Tao itself will guide the cultivator to the most suitable path for immortal cultivation. Guwen began to truly look forward to Xiaolan's future. Previously, Xiaolan had a smooth journey thanks to his support, and her future was all within his sight. But now, Xiaolan has boundless possibilities, even the potential to surpass his control. For those close to him, Guwen naturally hopes they will get better and better. If they can live their own brilliance, that would be even more ideal. With these thoughts, Guwen's mood became even more brisk, and the music he played turned more ethereal, like the high mountains and flowing rivers before him, bringing peace to one's heart. Guwen learned to play the zither from Shenzhen, not that he had high hopes. In the long years, he always tried different things when bored. The sound of the zither was melodious, echoing through the mountains. As the breeze blew, day turned to night, and the constellations shifted. Another 5,000 years passed by. In these 5,000 years, aside from Qin Chuan and Sheng Tian and LV Xian, also left the dojo to make their own way in the world. Chen Chuan founded the sword sect, and its momentum was fierce. And Sheng Tian went back to support the Yin family. Although his destiny with the Yin family had been severed, he chose a disciple from the family to instruct. LV Xian wandered the world, challenging the unparalleled geniuses of various sections. As long as his opponent was not beyond his great realm, he would not use Dao treasures, relying on his true abilities to continuously defeat formidable talents. His fame grew rapidly, and 5,000 years later, he was already among the top talents in the world. However, in the world today, the one with the most fame was still Zhao Rushan, who had mastered the Dao Court's supreme divine skill for combat with inscrutable techniques. In this new year, Emperor Tianhong was still kneeling in the forest at the edge of Wuxia. Guwen went early in the morning to pick mature medicinal herbs, and continued until evening, when he arrived at an island belonging to the Gathering Flower sect. Jiang Qiong had prepared wine and dishes in advance, waiting for his arrival. Jiang Qiong was now a carefree primordial immortal, and although not as formidable as a Wuxia disciple, she did not stay by Guwen's side all year round. Her cultivation level was already the strongest in this sea area. Not only the strongest, but she was also seen as a legend in the hearts of many disciples of the Gathering Flower sect, with rumors of her true capabilities. Although Jiang Qiong was not the sect master, she still strategized and made important decisions for the Gathering Flower sect from behind the scenes. Recently, LV Xian's fame has grown quite large, spreading across the 72 seas. Even our sect's disciples are discussing what kind of a sect Wuxia really is. In the pavilion halfway up the mountain, Jiang Qiong poured wine for Guwen while saying with a laugh. Beside them was a waterfall, the falling water striking the cliff and raising a misty spray, paired with the lush green flora, creating beauty and a sense of atmosphere. Guwen laughed and said, "Wuxia is not any sect, and I don't usually manage them that much." Jiang Qiong continued to serve dishes to Guwen and curiously asked, "You've been in this world for 130,000 years. What exactly are you pursuing? Or to be more precise, who are you avoiding?" Like others, Jiang Qiong also felt that Guwen had the capability to turn the world upside down before he even met her. She believed he was just putting on a show. What she did not know was that Guwen was actually younger than she was. Guwen did not specifically clarify this, as admitting the truth would hardly be believed by anyone, and may even plant the seeds of potential trouble. Pursuing? I am hoping for my current lifestyle to continue for a very long time, until I become tired of it. Guwen said earnestly, then emptied the cup of wine in one gulp. Really? Jiang Qiong looked at Guwen, as if she was trying to see through him. Guwen raised his hand, took out a scroll, and handed it to Jiang Qiong, saying, "This is a formation I created. Study it well, and if you can master it, It could protect the Gathering Flower sect for 1,000,000 years without worries. That powerful? Xianxia was pleasantly surprised. She was very interested in formations, as could be seen from the incident at 8 Scenic Cave Heaven. She directly used her divine sense to probe the scroll. Meanwhile, Guan started to talk about the interesting things he had heard recently. Initially, she was just humoring him, but later on, she was completely engrossed in the content of the scroll. Guan simply shook his head with a wry smile, not too concerned. He looked up at the celestial vault, his gaze turning profound. Recently, a strange power was approaching the celestial spirit great world, which might bring disaster. Following this strange power in his deductions, he discovered that many great thousand worlds had already been contaminated by it, and these worlds had plunged into chaos as a result. Those tinged with this power would become violent and bloodthirsty. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 645. Gu Ennis Reincarnation. Such a bizarre force sweeping across the vast great thousand world. The celestial court should notice it, right? Guan thought silently, although he didn't know exactly where the celestial court was. As he came into contact with more immortal gods, he always felt that immortal gods were omnipresent, and the power of the celestial court was even more domineering, disregarding the wishes of all beings. As for the mysterious, strange force, Guan didn't pay much attention to it. Even if it spread to the celestial spirit great world, it was just another phase of cultivation for all beings, as long as it didn't endanger him. After a long while, when the food had all gone cold, Xianxia's attention finally shifted away from the array scroll. She looked at Guan and exclaimed, "Is this really an array that humans can create? It's too vast and intricate, and from the described effects, it seems as terrifying as the rules of heaven and earth." She felt if this array were to be leaked, it would certainly cause a bloodbath, and if someone else had given it to her, she would not dare accept it. It would take many years to master. You should study it on your own first, Guan said softly with a chuckle. What he provided was not just the array itself. The Taoist techniques contained within were enough for Xianxia to comprehend for 1,000,000 years. Xianxia nodded. She stored the scroll in her storage ring. Looking at Guan with eyes full of amazement and deep affection, she sighed. "The things you've given me are becoming harder and harder to repay. To be honest, it's pretty stressful." "Then return it to me?" Guan asked with annoyance. Didn't he know Xianxia well? This woman just wanted to tease him on the pretext. Xianxia laughed playfully. "That won't do, it's already been given." Then she changed the subject and began to talk about the happenings within the Gathering Flower sect. As the person of the highest seniority within the sect, she naturally spoke from the perspective of an elder, leaving Guan feeling like they were chatting about family matters. Guan didn't find it boring. On the contrary, he was very interested, occasionally asking questions. Half an hour later. "By the way, do you still remember Lu Lingjun? She stayed in your third Medicine Valley once. She's an ascender. The Ascension sect she established is doing quite well, having already gained a foothold." When Xianxia brought up Lu Lingjun, her tone became cheerful. At the same time, she was observing Gu An's expression. She remembered, an XN had mentioned a long time ago that Lu Lingjun wanted to take Gu An as her Dao companion. Ever since Gu An's true identity was revealed, Lu Lingjun seemed to have lost contact with Guan, not because he didn't want to see her, but because she didn't dare to see him. Over the years, Xianxia had also dealt with Lu Lingjun, and she felt that there was an inherent pride in her. It seemed this woman couldn't accept that Guan was such a strong being. However, Xianxia suspected that the fact that Lu Lingjun was still alive today, and the Ascension sect had developed so well, was due to Gu An's covert assistance. After she finished talking about Lu Lingjun's situation, she still couldn't see any sign from Gu An's face. Guan seemed completely indifferent to Lu Lingjun. Guan showed a smile and said, "Indeed, talking to you is quite interesting. These things I couldn't see within the beginningless." Seeing that he was uninterested in Lu Lingjun, Xianxia couldn't help but ask, "Do you always cultivate? Don't you get bored?" She could never understand why Guan had left the Supreme Sect. If he disliked the supreme sect, he could switch to another sect or city to stay. Why hide in a deserted mountain? She could only think that it was for the sake of cultivation. My life is far more interesting than you think, Guwen said proudly. Jiang Qiong raised her eyebrows, skeptical. Guwen laughed and said, For me, the past 130,000 years have been much slower than the time you have experienced. Take the past 100 years for example. I served as a guard for an emperor in the human world for 60 years, aiding 4 emperors. He was telling the truth. In the recent 10,000 years, he liked to experience various identities in the mortal world. Except for when gathering medicinal herbs, he always used his original body to experience them, and in each identity, he never used his mana. He too would get injured and grow old. Isn't this another form of reincarnation? Jiang Qiong never expected Guwen would do such a thing. She found it both absurd and somewhat interesting to think that a powerful being who could overturn the entire great world was scrambling for power and profit with mortals in the mortal world. Maybe she should try it too? After all, she no longer had to personally oversee the Gathering Flower sect. What followed was Guwen speaking, with Jiang Qiong listening. The more stories she heard, the more she felt that what Guwen was doing was not out of boredom, but a form of cultivation. The sun was shining brightly, the sky clear and cloudless. Above the mountains, numerous cultivators were flying on their swords, as fast as the wind. Their gathering created a tremendous force that shook the mountains and forests violently. In the midst of the crowd, 2 young men flew side by side on their swords. One of them, a youth in black, turned to his companion and excitedly asked, Long Lin, what kind of demon do you think we'll encounter this time? The youth known as Long Lin was dressed in a tight blue garment, looking even more handsome and extraordinary in demeanor than the youth in black. Long Lin looked ahead, a smile on his face as he said, I heard it's a great demon that has lived for 10,000 years. Otherwise, the sect wouldn't send out so many disciples. A great demon that has lived for 10,000 years? How terrifying could that be? The youth in black suddenly grew worried. Long Lin glanced at him and chuckled, Yang Nian, if you're scared, it's not too late to go back now. Upon hearing this, the youth named Yang Nian's eyes widened immediately, and he said, How could I possibly be scared? I'm just worried about the other disciples. If our Changyang sect loses this battle, the consequences are unimaginable. Long Lin gazed forward, smiling without saying a word. It wasn't just them. The other disciples of Changyang sect around them were also discussing the upcoming battle. The Changyang sect had been established for thousands of years and was considered a hegemon on the continent, but they had never contended with a 10,000-year-old demon before. By the way, Long Lin, I heard from an elder brother that your clan has found you? Is that true? Yang Nian asked curiously. He and Long Lin had both been orphans since they were young, raised by an old man in the mountains. By a stroke of fortune, they joined the Changyang sect, and Long Lin was found to have an excellent spirit root. Yang Nian owed his present status to Long Lin's support. He never expected that Long Lin wasn't an orphan and that his clan was looking for him. He felt envious but also happy for Long Lin. Yeah, they told me that my parents didn't abandon me, but rather they perished while on a mission and had to leave me somewhere. The jade pendant my parents left me is actually a high-tier spiritual artifact, and that's also how my clan found me. They want me to return, and I am still considering it, Long Lin replied calmly. Yang Nian continued to probe, Is your family powerful? How does it compare with Changyang sect? They should be powerful. They have already persuaded the higher-ups of the sect, and it seems the higher-ups have gained significant benefits and are strongly urging me to return, Long Lin said. Yang Nian felt even more envious at the response. Why didn't he have such a background? Before their cultivation, it was he who protected Long Lin, but ever since they began to cultivate, the roles reversed, and now it was Long Lin taking care of him. Yang Nian was grateful to Long Lin but also couldn't help feeling a surging envy in his heart. He felt that the heavens favored Long Lin, always letting him encounter good luck, whereas he was left without support. Even with Long Lin's help, trouble always seemed to find him. Sar the Oval Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If that's the case, what's there to consider? Yang Nian tried to restrain his jealousy and forced a smile as he asked. "Let's better think about how we're going to fight next," Long Lin said, dodging the question. He hesitated because the Long family does not accept outsiders. Over the years, he could sense the changes in Yang Nian's attitude and didn't want to provoke him with this matter. But still, just thinking about the words of that family member, a look of longing couldn't help but appear in Long Lin's eyes. It is said that there are immortals in the Long family, beings who exist beyond the Mahayana realm, transcendental in existence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 646. Old acquaintances meet. The mountains overlapped, and the land seemed like dragon ridges pressed together. On one such ridge, Guan stood in front of a cliff, while an Exan was meditating and cultivating nearby. Has it already begun? Guan looked into the distance, thinking this way. It had been 7,000 years since he had given the array scroll to Xianxia. 7,000 years had passed, and that mysterious and eerie force had finally seeped into the Great Thousand World. Its method of infiltration was not through a world gate but directly into the Tao rules of the Great Thousand World. This was an unstoppable invasion method, as its infiltration trajectory couldn't be fully tracked, at least not by the celestial spirit god. On the continent where Guan was, he saw a bloodline member of the Long family. This youth was named Long Lin, whose best friend was invaded by the eerie force, and he would become increasingly jealous and violent in the future, causing many troubles in Long Lin's life. Guan, however, had no intention of intervening. Long Lin was too distant in relation, equivalent to a stranger. If he were to protect every descendant of the Long family, it would be too exhausting, as the bloodline had already surpassed 1 billion in number, though most had changed names. Although the youth named Yang Nian might take a wrong path, he wouldn't pose a threat to Long Lin's life. Even without the invasion of the eerie force, it was not uncommon in the human world for brothers and best friends to destroy each other out of jealousy. "Master, another calamity befalls the human world?" And Xin's voice rang out, and Guan turned his head, seeing her opening her eyes with tightly furrowed brows. Guan inquired, "What did you see?" "Ia the novel fire." Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. My immortal emperor's eye senses a disturbingly evil force, and my future self also informed me that the human world would face unprecedented tribulations soon, and this disaster will also cover other Great Thousand Worlds. An Xian spoke worriedly. Although her future self was manifested through karmic evolution and might not prove true, it still hinted at major trends in the future. Guan nodded slightly, quite satisfied with Xin's cultivation results. And Xin's immortal emperor's eye not only could devour power to transform it into her own but also borrow strength from her past and future selves. This was somewhat similar to the celestial dragon reincarnation dharma aspect. However, the future self she summoned was formed from karma. Once the future self appeared, its associated future would vanish, making the karmic ties here complex. But through summoning her future self, she could gain predictions on the future trends of the cosmos. In addition, the immortal emperor's eye inherently possessed a powerful suppressive force. At the scene, when she sparred with Tian Hao, she pulled Tian Hao into an illusion realm, forcefully crushing his Tao heart. In the immortal emperor's eye's illusion realm, Tian Hao's senses were misled, perceiving everything encountered inside as real occurrences. The immortal emperor's eye contained immense power, which would aid an Xian to grow stronger. Even if an Xian did not become a Taoist emperor, with the immortal emperor's eye, she could still contend with a Taoist emperor. Indeed, the forthcoming calamities will indeed arrive at the various Great Thousand Worlds. However, the scope of this disaster is boundless and will surely attract stronger beings for suppression, so you needn't worry too much, Guan responded. Thinking about the Taoist emperor, his thoughts couldn't help but drift to the path of the great Tao. More of his old friends began to pursue the Taoist emperor. Ji Xiaoyu, Zhang Buku, Tian Hao. The path of the great Tao was far broader than the Great Thousand World, with countless cultivators striving within. Meeting these few would not be easy. However, Ji Xiaoyu did meet Xiaolan, all thanks to Yuan Songzi's efforts. Yuan Songzi aimed to unite the strengths of the celestial spirit great world, lending mutual assistance. Gu En watched over Ji Xiaoyu and Xiaolan while guiding an Xian in comprehending the Tao better. Whether Enzin's attention was diverted or not was unclear, but she soon became absorbed in enlightenment, forgetting the outside world. In the dim cosmic void, an desolate meteor quietly hovered, with a monastery perched upon its surface. In a hall, cultivators of the Tao court were meditating before a gigantic Buddha statue. Xiaolan gazed at the statue, lost in thought. This Buddha is from Ling Mountain. The owner of this monastery was once a devotee of Ling Mountain. In the heart of a Buddhist cultivator, Ling Mountain is the supreme holy land. A voice came, interrupting Xiaolan's thoughts. Xiaolan turned her head, quickly getting up to salute. The meticulously dressed and regal Ji Xiaoyu approached her. Now, Ji Xiaoyu mostly walked in the identity of the reincarnation Tao Emperor. Her cultivation level might not match Yuan Songzi, but Yuan Songzi treated her with respect, addressing her as fellow Taoist, which garnered significant respect from the Tao court's talents for her. Senior, is Ling Mountain truly formidable? Where is it? Xiaolan asked curiously. Ever since meeting the reincarnation Tao Emperor, the reincarnation Tao Emperor had always clarified her doubts, treating her with much kindness, fostering strong goodwill in her towards the reincarnation Tao Emperor. Ji Xiaoyu turned her gaze back to the great Buddha statue, saying, Ling Mountain is elusive, I've only heard about it, but what can be confirmed is Ling Mountain stands above the great thousand world, and the capabilities of Ling Mountain's various Buddhas are beyond our imagination. Indeed, Ling Mountain is formidable. In the great thousand world where I originated, there once appeared a disciple from Ling Mountain's Buddhist sect, who single-handedly saved countless beings and suppressed the outer heaven evil demon. Even after his departure, many legends about him persisted in the human world. Yuan Songzi walked over, stroking his beard with a smile, his gaze towards the great Buddha statue filled with nostalgia. Xiaolan was filled with yearning. This monastery, though ownerless, could provide them shelter, and it was built by a mere believer of Ling Mountain. How mighty must the Buddhas of Ling Mountain be? 4 years on the path of the great Tao, Xiaolan's horizons had vastly widened. Yet, wonders she heard continued to leave her in awe. Yuan Songzi turned to Ji Xiaoyu, asking, Have you chosen the next opponent? The forces on the path of the great Tao were more numerous than the stars of the great thousand world. Many forces, like the Tao court, came to create a Taoist emperor, so they would establish contacts, setting a time and place for combat resourced by each one's capabilities without forming enmity among the forces. Both Ji Xiaoyu and Xiaolan were competing to become a Taoist emperor, but Ji Xiaoyu had a higher cultivation level, so she led the way, with the Tao court currently supporting her, enabling Xiaolan to gain experience more easily. Yes, a prodigy from Xianxia Great World whose cultivation level is very similar to mine, Ji Xiaoyu answered, her tone calm. Yuan Songzi was about to continue questioning when suddenly the entire hall began to tremble. An overwhelming pressure emanated from outside the monastery, startling the meditating cultivators from the Tao court, causing them to stand up, ready themselves tensely. Yuan Songzi frowned, projecting his divine sense towards the Tao void. He saw 2 figures battling deep in the void, colliding like 2 brilliant suns, causing the Tao rules to tremble, and the immense pressure made the meteor they sat upon tremble incessantly. Is that? It seemed Yuan Songzi recognized one of them, his expression turning exceptionally grim. The Tao court cultivators became even more tense. When Yuan Songzi initially confronted immortal gods, he never showed such an expression. Could there be a presence outside more terrifying than the immortal gods? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 647, 5 trillion years lifespan. Do you know who is fighting outside, Senior? Ji Xiaoyu noticed Yuan Songzi's expression and couldn't help but ask. She appeared calm, but inside she felt terrified. Just feeling the momentum of the battle from afar gave her a dreadful sense of being turned to dust. On the path of the great Tao, daring to fight so recklessly, these are indeed conceited individuals, for the path harbors many dangers, and making too much noise only invites trouble. Her cooperation with the Dao court was precisely to have them help set up a barrier to prevent the aura of her battles with other Tianjiao from leaking. Yuan Songzi took a deep breath and said, "One of them comes from ascending to yellow heaven, named Zhou. This person has killed countless people and proves the Dao with killing intent. If he detects our aura, we will all die." Upon hearing this, everyone was alarmed. Even Xiao Lan couldn't remain calm. Ji Xiaoyu frowned. She knew of ascending to yellow heaven, a terrifying Taoist lineage, even involving reincarnation. However, Zhou Jie's opponent is also very strong. Perhaps they will leave soon, so there's no need to panic. After all, the formation in this monastery is quite exquisite, Yuan Songzi continued, his words slightly easing the tension among the crowd, though no one dared to let their guard down. Xiao Lan looked at everyone, feeling deeply moved. These seniors hold high positions in the celestial spirit great world, essentially wielding the power of life and death over all beings. Yet on the path of the great Tao, they are as insignificant as dust, being extremely cautious and careful. Everyone held their breath, not daring to speak, fearing even a sound might disturb the terrifying presence outside. However, the oppressive force of the battle drew closer, as if the fighting parties were approaching, and even Yuan Songzi began to sweat on his forehead. Suddenly, the oppressive force rushed into the distance and disappeared in an instant, making everyone even more tense. For a long time, only after more than half an hour did everyone finally relax, believing the opponents had left. They gathered around Yuan Songzi, inquiring about the origins of ascending to yellow heaven. Ji Xiaoyu looked at Xiao Lan, her eyes complex, unsure of her thoughts. Time flies and the years go by swiftly. As strange forces invaded the celestial spirit great world, more and more beings became violent, leading to increasing conflicts in the human world. This did not affect Gu Ennis' life. He continued to enjoy his leisurely years, only occasionally diverting his focus to watch over old friends, including those on the path of the great Tao. If they faced danger, he would help protect them, but he made it seem like their own luck. Years passed quickly. After 10,000 years, the human world completely shed its cloak of peace, with conflicts arising everywhere. Even the Qinkuan sect went to war with surrounding forces. The boundless celestial vault began to show lingering clouds. Guan still did not intervene to change anything. Another 10,000 years passed. That late summer, just past noon, Guan walked through the woods, pulling up his attribute panel for a check. Name, Guan, lifespan, 161, 845/5, 048, 752, 108, 241. Physique, primordial reincarnation, undying body. Cultivation level, Miaozhen Daluo immortal realm perfection, 5 trillion years of life expectancy. He hesitated whether to break through. The last breakthrough cost 8 trillion years of life. He feared 5 trillion wouldn't suffice for the perfection realm of the next great realm. Guan pondered, pacing leisurely through the woods, with the breeze gently stirring his robes. Looking up, the celestial vault between the leaves appeared dim, more like dusk than noon. After a while, Guan stopped walking. He stood by a small river, with a figure kneeling across it. It was Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong had been kneeling here for over 50,000 years, yet he seemed without the slightest sign of decline, his long beard touching the ground, face clear. Were it not for his knees sunk deep in the soil, one might not believe he had knelt so long. Though he engaged in no qi absorption cultivation, his cultivation level broke through to the Tao void profound immortal realm, purely through enlightenment. Notably, his breakthrough involved no crossing the tribulation nor the slightest disturbance. After all these years of kneeling, what is your greatest realization? Gu An's voice reached Emperor Tianhong's ear, making him open his eyes suddenly. Upon seeing Guan, he was lost in a daze. Though he had never met Guan before, for some reason, seeing Guan for the first time, he felt the other was the supporting Dao sword venerable. To him, Gu An's appearance seemed perfect, and though Gu An's aura was not overpowering, it gave a sense of all-embracing magnanimity. Emperor Tianhong once believed his Tao heart was tempered through countless trials, immune to strong emotions, yet he couldn't suppress the surge of excitement from his heart at this moment. Trembling all over, he couldn't articulate his complex emotions. Seeing Emperor Tianhong so overwhelmed, Guan smiled gently, his smile like a spring breeze blowing into Emperor Tianhong's heart, dissolving his tension and excitement. Emperor Tianhong took a deep breath, trying to calm himself, and cautiously said, "My greatest realization is that the strongest Taoist technique is not found in sects but pervades the world, everywhere in nature. Perhaps Wuxi's name is meant to guide all beings?" Upon finishing, Emperor Tianhong's heart was in his throat. Afraid had offended the supporting Tao sword venerable. The longer head knelt, the more he revered Guan, sensing it was Guan guiding him to enlightenment. Guan chuckled. "Perhaps so, everyone has their own understanding. Do you wish to take me as your master?" Emperor Tianhong's eyes widened with excitement. "Sword venerable, I do. I very much want it. Will you accept me?" Guan raised his right hand, and a sword flew from his palm, swiftly enlarging, its point facing upward, hovering before him. The sword was exquisite, radiating a faint silver glow, with what seemed like stars adorning it. "This is the Tao treasure of Wuxia, named the Longevity Sword. You may use it to save this human world. When you become a savior, return the sword, and then decide whether you wish to be my disciple." As Guan introduced the sword, the Longevity Sword flew to Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong could feel the vast Tao intent within the sword, yet he wasn't captivated, instead directing his attention to Guan, urgently saying, "I can decide now, willing to be your disciple." Guan replied meaningfully, "When you have the highest fame and power, and discern your own destiny pattern, then make your decision. There's no rush. If you are willing by then, I will accept you." Hearing this, Emperor Tianhong calmed down. "Now go." Guan continued, upon which Emperor Tianhong stood up, clutching the Longevity Sword. In an instant, a vast memory surged into his mind, leaving him stunned. Sar the Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Seeing this, Guan crossed the small river, passing by him. Go for the breakthrough after all. With his back to Emperor Tianhong, Guan thought silently. He followed his thoughts with anticipation. What lies beyond the Miaozhen Daluo Immortal realm? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 648. Endless Tao Mountain. After parting with Emperor Tianhong, Guan took a trip to the Tai Tsang continent, picking medicinal herbs at the Mountain God Temple, then went alone into the uninhabited mountains and forests, far away from the mundane world. He sat under a tree and activated the Lifespan Breakthrough. You have activated the Lifespan Breakthrough function. Based on your current realm, the following breakthrough locations have been selected for you. 1. Path of the Great Tao. War Spirit Holy Mansion. 3. Taiwei Earth Core. 4. Ling Mountain. River of Destiny. 6. Endless Tao Mountain. Sarch * The Novel Fire. Net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. 7. Primordial Emperor Domain. 8. Profound Abyss Divine Pool. 9. Supreme Origin Forest. Looking at the options in front of him, Guan frowned slightly. He didn't see the desperate celestial tomb. He was still planning to find a way to rescue the sins within the desperate celestial tomb after breaking through. In his view, when he breaks through again, he should have the strength to see through the desperate celestial tomb. Don't mention Miaozhen Daluo Immortal. Even ordinary heaven-opening Daluo Immortals are rarely seen. Breaking through to a higher realm, even if he's not the strongest, he should be among the stronger existences within the Great Tao. After saving the sins, he could further investigate Fairy Yao Xian's causality through them, thereby resolving the obsessions left by the Emperor of Eternal Life. These matters, to Guan, didn't feel troublesome, but rather filled him with anticipation. In becoming stronger through cultivation, one must have opportunities to demonstrate. Could it be because the desperate celestial tomb cannot withstand my breakthrough, and these places can, that the celestial tomb did not appear? Guwen suddenly had a speculation. If so, could it be inferred that these 9 places possess power beyond the Miaojin Daluo Immortal? Even if they don't, these places can still nurture stronger Daluo Immortals, something beyond the capability of the celestial spirit Great World. Don't mention Daluo Immortals. The celestial spirit Great World can't even nurture golden immortals. Guwen silently pondered, and after some thought, he chose Endless Dao Mountain. The name alone sounded profound and elusive, and it provided better concealment. To be teleported to Endless Dao Mountain will consume 10 billion years of lifespan. Do you wish to continue? Continue. An unfamiliar sensation surged forth, causing him to instinctively close his eyes, and his senses followed suit, losing function. After a while, he felt his feet touch the ground, and he immediately opened his eyes, almost instantly activating the lifespan barrier. After setting up the lifespan barrier, he had time to observe the environment. As far as the eye could see, the celestial vault was dim as the void of the universe, with towering mountains standing on the earth, rising and falling, their ends unseen, and the number of peaks uncountable. Even at his Miaojin Daluo Immortal Realm Perfection state, Guwen could not see the boundaries of this world. Is this another place in an infinitely expanding universe and earth? He observed that every mountain around him contained an immense Dao intent, as if nurturing a great Dao. The oppressive atmosphere of the world made the Endless Dao Mountain appear like majestic deities in the darkness, exuding a sense of vastness and magnitude. The mountain under Guwen's feet was extraordinarily huge. Even standing on the summit felt like standing on a vast continent. Its height exceeded the distance from the 9 spirit continents' ground to outer heaven. The mountain he stood upon wasn't even the highest Dao mountain. In the distance stood towering mountains like heavenly barriers, imposing to the extreme. Endless Dao Mountain, I wonder how far it is from the Great Thousand World, thought Guwen curiously, as he had never heard of the Endless Dao Mountain before. The more mysterious and powerful places there were, the happier Guwen felt. If the end of the Great Dao were so easy to reach, the joy of cultivation would diminish significantly. Guwen sat down cross-legged and then called up the attribute panel. First, he worked to enhance his physique, as it had been a while since he made any improvements. Guwen invested 100 billion years of lifespan directly, but the primordial reincarnation undying body did not transform. He continued investing. Ultimately, after spending a total of 400 billion years of lifespan, the primordial reincarnation undying body ascended to the primordial Dao creation body. Vast amounts of Dao spiritual qi gathered, causing the ground beneath Guwen's feet to light up with Dao light, confined within the barrier, while the mountain surface outside the barrier exhibited no changes for the time being. Soon, Guwen became engrossed in the inheritance. The primordial Dao creation body retained the features of the previous physique, undying through reincarnation, ferocious mana, and the capability to create new Great Dao. Indeed, Great Dao independent of the 3,000 Great Dao. It's based on personal mana and physical strength. Just like before, no matter how mighty the transformation, Guwen completed the transformation in less than an hour. He opened his eyes, a glint of light flashing within them. Create a Dao? He suddenly thought, with countless Great Dao, even he couldn't ascertain the exact number. Could some Great Dao have been created by cultivators? This hypothesis could not be answered for the time being, so he turned his gaze to the cultivation techniques in the attribute panel. Next was the enhancement of the main cultivation technique. Guwen invested 100 billion years of lifespan into the Daoist Dominator skill. Finally, after expending nearly 350 billion years of lifespan, he upgraded the Daoist Dominator skill to the Myriad Dao Extinction skill. The Myriad Dao Extinction skill shifted from the previous vastness to one filled with slaughter traits, with domination leading to extinction, leaving not a trace, ultimately leaving only oneself, surpassing the Great Dao. An hour later, Guwen continued upgrading. Sun and Moon Selfless Divine Dao ascended to Dao Qi Eternal Divine Sense, consuming nearly 300 billion years of lifespan. This was Guwen's main reliance for hiding cultivation level and aura. He wouldn't neglect it. The upgrades continued. Daoless Celestial Net Step ascended to Great Primordial Celestial Net Step, consuming nearly 400 billion years of lifespan. Hongmeng Void Golden Body ascended to Great Tao Formless Body, consuming 300 billion years of lifespan. This secret skill evolved from the Demon Shadow Divine skill, capable of transformation and isolating causality and fate deductions, greatly aiding Guwen in remaining concealed. Another hour passed. Guwen mastered the Great Tao Formless Body. Even without activating this secret skill, his physical body possessed the capability to avoid being deduced, and this body could also elevate his aura and suppression, serving as a suppressive divine skill. Having completed the conventional enhancements, he had to consider battle methods next. According to past conventions, Guwen should improve his sword Dao, but now he wanted to enhance the Immortal Emperor's Eye. The Immortal Emperor's Eye was too powerful for him to give up, but it would provoke the Celestial Court's suspicion. He must upgrade the Immortal Emperor's Eye to a stronger stage to avoid their detection. While Guwen contemplated, changes emerged in the tumultuous Endless Dao Mountain. Due to Guwen's continuous upgrades of Taoist techniques, the Dao rules in the heavens and earth began having strange alterations, causing gales to roar, lightning to flash, thunder to rumble, and some Dao mountains to faintly tremble. Before, there had been no sign of any living being. But now they appeared. Guwen looked in a direction, spotting a massive black silhouette on the summit of a majestic Dao mountain far away. The figure was humanoid, standing atop the peak, mysterious to the extreme, akin to an ancient demon god. He couldn't use lifespan detection on it, indicating the other party had not revealed their true self. Even so, the other party's aura sent chills through his heart. Miao Zhen Daluo Immortal. And not at the early stage. Guwen merely glanced over and paid no mind. With the lifespan barrier in place, it would be difficult for the other party to discover him. He began to invest lifespan into the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Right from the start, it was 100 billion years of lifespan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 649, Breakthrough to Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal. You invested 10 billion years of lifespan into cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye. You have spent 1 billion years cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, and your understanding of the Great Tao of cause and effect has improved. You have spent 10 billion years cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, and your understanding of the Great Tao of illusion and reality has improved. You have spent 50 billion years cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, and the power of your Immortal Emperor's Eye has grown stronger. Notifications flashed before Guwen's eyes, but a full 10 billion years of lifespan was not enough to transform the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Guwen was not surprised. After all, this was a formidable divine skill feared by the Celestial Court. He continued to invest lifespan, still in increments of 10 billion years. Failure. Another 10 billion years. Guwen had over 400 billion years of lifespan remaining, so 10 billion years was nothing to him. Continuous failures, continuous investment. When the invested lifespan exceeded 1,000 billion years, a subtle change appeared in Guwen's eyes. It wasn't until the Immortal Emperor's Eye advanced that he finally breathed a sigh of relief. A total of 1,800 billion years of lifespan was consumed, and the Immortal Emperor's Eye advanced to become the Absolute Void Eye. An endless stream of memories poured into Guwen's mind, causing him to close his eyes and immerse himself in them, as if the vast information of the 3,000 Great Tao rushed into his mind, plunging even someone with a perfection in the Miaozhen Daluo Immortal realm into chaos. The Absolute Void Eye not only can manipulate reality and illusion but can also create them, an almost omnipotent eye whose creations vanish when the user's mana is exhausted. In battle, it can turn an opponent's divine skills, spells, and even mana into nothingness. This is not only suppression against the weak, but even against those with higher cultivation levels, it exerts a certain degree of suppression. The great Tao phenomena caused by the Absolute Void Eye far exceed those from before, with the endless Tao mountains still ravaged by fierce winds, and silhouettes appearing consecutively on the distant Tao mountain. Even a figure shrouded in gray mist appeared atop a nearby Tao mountain, not revealing their true form. This gray mist figure looked up at the dark celestial vault, seemingly searching for the source of the phenomenon, unaware that the source was right beside him on the neighboring Dao Mountain. The two Dao Mountains were connected, but the distance between their peaks spanned tens of millions of miles, a distance insurmountable in a lifetime for mortals, but merely a step away for the gray mist figure. Time passed quickly. An hour later, Guwen opened his eyes, his purple pupils transformed into gold and red, enhancing his oppressive presence. His absolute void eye focused first on the gray mist figure atop the distant mountain peak. Even at such close range, Guwen could not perform lifespan detection on him, as if some force protected the cultivators in this world. However, even without lifespan detection, Guwen could perceive the other's cultivation level. Late stage of celestial creation Daluo Immortal realm. A heaven-opening Daluo Immortal can cultivate in the endless Dao Mountain, prompting Guwen to suddenly harbor thoughts. After the breakthrough, should I stay here and observe for a while? First, accomplish the breakthrough and see how strong he becomes. Guwen reopened his attribute panel. Aside from the consumption in lifespan evolution, the lifespan barrier had also been continuously consuming lifespan, leaving him with more than 450 billion years of lifespan. He began investing lifespan into his cultivation level. You cultivate the Qi absorption for 2 billion years, and use the great achievement of the Myriad Dao Extinction skill to forcefully impact the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm, beginning to cross the tribulation, but fail to survive the infinite celestial void Great Tribulation, resulting in attribution. You cultivate the Qi absorption for 4 billion years, and use the great achievement of the Myriad Dao Extinction skill to forcefully impact the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm, beginning to cross the tribulation, but fail to survive the infinite celestial void Great Tribulation, resulting in attribution. Why does it take 2 billion years just for one tribulation? And that's even after I've improved my Taoist techniques and physique. Guwen suddenly felt that it might be challenging to reach the perfection realm of the next great realm this time. In any case, first achieve this so-called Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal. 100 billion years only resulted in 5 breakthroughs, and after the 5 breakthroughs failed, Guwen directly invested 1,000 billion years of lifespan. Notifications kept popping up, all indicating failure. 50 tribulations, all ending in failure. Guwen continued to invest. 1,000 billion years followed by another 1,000 billion years. Failure. 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 Guwen focused intensely, the absolute void eye flashing with a terrifying gaze. The great Dao phenomenon of the endless Dao mountain began to weaken. The figures standing atop the mountain peaks disappeared consecutively, though some remained observing. The gray mist figure on the nearby Dao mountain did not vanish. He looked around, never settling his gaze on the Dao mountain where Guwen stood. Guwen no longer paid attention to him, focusing entirely on the notifications before him. After failing with 10,000 billion years of lifespan, he realized the problem was significant. Is it really this difficult to break through to Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal? Or is the infinite celestial void Great Tribulation more terrifying than he imagined? As Guwen pondered, he continued to invest lifespan. Yet, after throwing in a second 10,000 billion years of lifespan, there was still no sign of success. He frowned slightly and persisted in investing more. After a while, he finally succeeded in breaking through. Tia the novel and Fun. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. You cultivate the Qi absorption for 58 billion years, and use the great achievement of the Myriad Dao Extinction skill to forcefully impact the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm, beginning to cross the tribulation, surviving the infinite celestial void Great Tribulation, and succeeding in crossing the tribulation. Your cultivation level breaks through to the early stage of the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm. You cultivate the Qi absorption for 10 billion years, and your cultivation level increases. As the notification fell, the lifespan barrier activated again, far more majestic than before. The Dao spiritual Qi engulfed Guwen, immersing him in the strong light of the great Dao. Just reaching the early stage cost Guwen 23,000 billion years of lifespan. He dared not continue to break through. After all, he still needed to save lifespan for the lifespan barrier. First achieve the Dao Extreme Dao Immortal. Boom. The dark celestial vault suddenly exploded with a thunderous sound, akin to a great dragon coiling in the heavens, larger than any mountain ridge between heaven and earth, alarming the cultivators practicing within the Dao Mountains. In Gu N's perception, the auras of more and more cultivators emerged, as if the night sky was illuminated and the stars appeared. He was astounded. Just how many powerful beings are hidden here? Even the weakest aura belonged to a heaven-balancing golden immortal, with most being Taichin golden immortals, and several auras caused his heart to palpitate. They must be Dao Extreme Dao immortals. Could this endless Dao mountain be some holy land for enlightenment? Guan pondered, seeing that no one was paying attention to the Dao mountain he resided on, sinking his consciousness into the inherited memories. Dao Extreme Dao Immortal, the pinnacle of the Dao fruit, is the ultimate limit beings can reach. To become stronger, one cannot rely anymore on cultivation and enlightenment but must create and develop one's great Dao. In a sense, Dao Extreme Dao Immortal is the culmination of the immortal Dao. Beyond that, it's not the immortal Dao but the great Dao. Gu N's Dao fruit began imprinting Dao Extreme patterns, with each pattern containing indelible mysteries. As long as the Dao Extreme patterns exist, the Dao Extreme Dao Immortal will not fall, and the Dao Extreme patterns are not merely on the Dao fruit but interwoven within the infinite realm of the Great Dao. Even if the Dao fruit is destroyed, resurrection is possible, though with one less Dao Extreme pattern upon revival. There are a total of 49 Dao Extreme patterns, meaning the Dao Extreme Dao Immortal can resurrect 49 times. Even if dissipated, they can be reborn. A Dao Extreme Dao Immortal with Dao Extreme patterns is nearly an immortal existence. To annihilate a Dao Extreme Dao Immortal completely is exceedingly difficult. Even if slain, they can revive. One can only imagine the despair faced against a Dao Extreme Dao Immortal. Moreover, Gu N's mana is also transforming, evolving toward the ultimate power of the immortal Dao. During this process, his life-bound great divine power, longevity true words, is undergoing a qualitative transformation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible.